All right, we are live on a very active trade deadline day. I am Shwin. I'm joined by Miranda, who we better know as the professor, who is very kitted out. And as Tony Ferrano says in the comments here, Aura is back on the menus. And yes, Miranda is the one providing the aura right here. Kitted out, geared out in his Knicks attire. Look, let's just get to it. We don't need to do any other bullshit. Knicks, obviously, they trade Quentin Grimes and 2 second-round picks. I don't think we know yet which picks we gave out, but 2 second-round picks for Alec Burks and Bojan Bogdanovic, Evan Fournier and Malachi Flynn also going out in the deal. I could care less about either of them. Look, I don't know, man. I feel it says right here, Leon Rose knows ball. Miranda, what do you think? I am very, very happy. I think, like, if you told me before the season, RJ, Quick, Grimes all leave, I wouldn't have loved it. And I do feel this way strongly, is that, like, I think that shit matters, and I think it hurts a little bit to see all these young guys that you did draft and developed and stuff go out. But the Knicks are really fucking good, and you've got to appreciate what you have in the moment. And I think they're operating like that. And the pieces they've acquired, I mean, look, like you said before the year, and a lot of people said this, they don't have good wing depth, right? They go out, they get OG, they get Burks back, and they get Bogdanovic. Like, now all of a sudden your wing depth is there. And look, like this is just a really good job of roster management and asset management. And they have all their first still. They have all of their first still. So great job by Leon Rose.
Yeah, the firsts have gotten a lot of attention, and obviously the acquisitions themselves. I don't want to bury the lead. We must not forget that Ryan Arcidiacono was also included in the deal.
I forgot.
So, props to him. Hopefully Archie will be back.
He will be back.
It took me 2 years to learn how to say that motherfucker's name the right way, so he better be back on this team. But I was thinking about, driving around today, thinking about the deal, similar to what you were saying. It's really stunning if you add Obi to it too, and realize that if you go back to the end of last year's playoffs, when people felt understandably very good about this team, and Obi's gone, RJ's gone, Quickly's gone, Grimes is gone, and you don't feel. I don't think the Knicks have ever done this. Like, just the league hasn't always been set up to make these kinds of moves, but literally, I don't think anyone who follows the Knicks has any context for this kind of day, because it's never happened before. The Knicks have never been the team to make a billion moves on trade deadline day. They certainly haven't been the team to make a bunch of names where it's not stars. It's not someone who peaked 4 years ago and you're asking them to be someone they're not. Like, this is a literally exceptional day in the history of this franchise, and in the moment, it's really exciting. And not just in terms of, and this shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter. It doesn't matter. But when's the last time you saw the Knicks make a trade that was instantly, unanimously beloved by every a-hole around the league who covers them, usually unfairly? Like, every single response I have basically seen has been, this is great for the Knicks. Not only in the, like you were saying, this team now is stacked for this season. They're not just the, like, you don't want to play this team. Like, they're not that. They're
not cute. They're not a cute story anymore.
They're not. No, you don't want to see this team in a dark alley. Like, you're not coming out of it. Not only that, but also the reality of the flexibility going forward. None of the first round picks traded. Bogdanovic has a partial guarantee. I think Burks is expiring.
Is that Daft Punk?
Right, the Strickland is. We're ringing in our new. Yes, and it only speaks in whole tones and half tones. So just a second.
I'm gonna mute you for now, Con. All right, sorry. Go ahead, Miranda.
Yeah,
are you good now?
I'm good.
There we go.
All right, here we go. Knicks Illustrated is on with us. You may know him by his actual government name, but I'm not going to give that out. You can find it pretty easy.
You mean Bojan Bogdanovic, or can you see my subtitle or no? Because it's brilliant.
Oh yeah, hold on. I can fix this. Yes. There we go.
Well, someone
wanted
had
to
to
get that
say
one
it.
out.
Someone to say it. Has anyone been talking about it? How this is going to be like best addition by subtraction we've ever done on a team?
We've just been talking about the Dallas trade because that's really the big news of the day. So we haven't even really touched on Quentin Grimes yet.
Shit. PJ Washington going to win his first ring.
When the Knicks get him next year, that's a fair bet. That's a fair question. How do you? So besides Quentin Grimes being a bum, how do you feel about the deal otherwise? The deal today.
I think it's a great trade. I mean, look, when I first came through, our friend Noah, that is Nasty Noah on Twitter, said Grimes for Burks, and I started panicking a little bit. I was like, "What the fuck are they doing? Just traded Grimes for Burks?" Then
I'm only right back to the OG trade, where like when it first broke, people didn't know all the details, and they were starting to like erupt about you traded RJ and IQ for just OG, and then this isn't so bad. Okay, maybe that's not so bad. So maybe you had the same experience today.
Well, it was a little like worse than that. So it would have been. I mean, Alec Burks, we've all dealt with the Alec Burks experience in 2022, where Tibs had a toxic addiction to Burks, which I mean, to be fair, that could happen again. This whole time I've been like, okay, the Knicks need ball handling and scoring off the bench, and it seemed like our options were getting like ticked up a little bit. Like it was like, okay, Bogdan's not likely, DeJounte Murray's not likely, Terry Rozier got traded, Bruce Brown, and I don't know if this really gives what we want, but it was kind of like a stroke of brilliance in a way because we got the ball handling and the scoring, but instead of going for like a borderline starter, we split up into two bench players, and which is great because we're obviously an injured team, so we need that versatility and depth. So I thought it was pretty good trade. I mean, it sucks to give up Grimes, I guess, but he's kind of a bum. I don't know if you heard. Dante DiVincenzo clipped him within like 5 days, and I don't know. I think what these two guys give us is way more. Obviously, Grimes is younger. I don't know. Who knows what he'll be? But what these guys give us is like way more dynamic, way more valuable to us in the playoffs. Given that we already have Dante, we already have OG, like we don't really need their spot up shooter who's like a decent defender.
Yeah, I mean the other thing is like Grimes just has not shot the ball well from above the arc or above the break, sorry. And like that is a huge thing. And now like okay, look, OG's a sniper. He's more of a corner guy though too. Burks, we know can shoot the ball from above the break, all good. And Bogdanovich is another like the Knicks don't just have like they don't have shooters. They got fucking like this is like enemy at the gate. Like we just got fucking snipers like hiding out. And when now when Brunson comes in, I mean, you go back and watch that Lakers game from Saturday. I mean, that was ridiculous to watch, where it was like they were just not they were just like, okay, you can pass to whoever you want out there. We don't care. And I know Grimes wasn't healthy. I know OG wasn't healthy, but like your ability now to throw out lineups that are incredibly spaced is massive. Like this is probably the best amount of shooting the Knicks have had since the 2012-13 team. Like overall, their ability now, like Randall is the worst shooter in the rotation, like of the non-centers. That's pretty crazy. I guess Precious also. Precious is his own thing, but like
Josh Hart does exist, by the way.
Oh God, I forgot that he can't shoot.
I know you don't like that.
Why did you?
I was driving home today, and I was like in my head having all this fun with like the roster and the depth at every position. And I got home, and like 20 minutes later, I was like, I completely forgot about Josh Hart. Like I don't even know where I fit him in now.
The Sixers are trading Patrick Beverley to the Bucks. Is that you, Conrad? I don't know what's going on there. Getting the Daft Punk noise again. I'm gonna mute you for now. But yeah, the Sixers are trading Patrick Beverley to the Bucks. I don't get that at all. Not sure what's going on there.
Patrick Beverley. Huh. You know what it is? I mean, maybe they've just realized now with the Knicks moves, like, you know what? There's no reason to contend for anything. Let's just move people on, clear salary, and start like when Golden State was good. Let's just punt the next 3 or 4 years, because I don't see how that does a huge amount for the Bucks, and I don't really see what did the Sixers get? Just like a pick? Does it say?
There's no final like it just says that he's being traded for whatever it is. I would assume that there's like a second round pick going out. I would assume, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's a little strange.
Well, it's weird because campaign in a second. That's what Dallas is saying. So okay. It's probably, I'm assuming it's their second this year. And I don't know. It's pretty weird. We'll see. Look, going back to the Knicks, do we like? If I have a concern about this trade, my concern would be this: I don't entirely trust Tibs when he has options to make the right decisions, and that would be my primary concern of this trade.
Totally fair. I guess the offshoot to that would be because Tibs as a coach is like a walking baton death march. There's no chance he's going to have full options all year. So if you're using Galaxy Brain, you don't. They could add Luka, and it still won't be a problem because Tibs won't. I hear what you're saying, and it's really been striking with him. When you take away his options, he's so adorable and great. But if you give that man any chance, like so the dark question of this, and like we'll have enough happiness to talk about, but the absolute like conspiracy theory of the moves is that are they doing this because they have worse injury news than they've let on, and they know that like these guys are going to be playing a lot because maybe OG's out longer than they let on, maybe Randall is that a concern that you have like at all? And like, do you think in light of these, do you think these moves, do you take them as an interpretation of we're good, we're going for it, like we're going to get our guys back and roll? And if not, like it's not necessarily problematic, but yeah, tell me what you think.
That's what I think. I don't think they're worried about like, oh, Randall is not going to be back this year or OG is going to need surgery or anything like that. I think I think it's just they're going for it. Like look, you have to adapt to what the current state of the team is at various points. Like I admittedly would like, I have to like admit this, like I was not happy initially with the OG trade, mostly because I just felt like the Knicks never gave Quick a real shot in lineups and rotations that made sense. But literally, you watch one game of that team afterward. Like they play that Minnesota game, right after, and I'm like, and I was just like, okay, the Knicks are a contender, and we need to get some other players who can dribble, and like then you have this month, right? They go 14-2 in January. They are now basically in the mix for the 2 or 3 seed. And once you're at that level, you've got to change how you operate. And the Knicks have done this in a prudent fashion, right? There are no first round picks going out. They actually still have 2 fucking firsts in this draft in all likelihood. So like, and that's good because obviously when you trade out Quick, when you trade out Grimes, trade out RJ, trade out Obi, like you lost all your young guys, you lost all of your, still Quick, obviously last year of his rookie deal, Grimes has another one after this. So you lost your rookie scale guys. Replacing that, having those guys in the pipeline is important. And the Knicks are still set up to do that. Look, obviously we know that these picks are being held for at some point to make a big swing for a star. The important thing is they've done that. They've kept those picks and they've built out a deep roster with good balance. Like, look, losing Grimes definitely hurts your defense a little bit. When OG is back, you're not worried about it. And for what it's worth, like I thought Burks was solid defensively while in his time here.
He was. He definitely was.
Yeah. Bogdanović is a terrible defender. There's no way around that. He's a really bad defender.
Is.
But you're hopefully the goal, I'm assuming, is like this guy is going to be like a 15 to 20 minute a night per game dude off the bench when you're at full strength. And ultimately, we know that one of the goals that they had at this deadline was acquiring a player with a contract that could be used as trade filler going into next season, this offseason. Bogdan obviously has that. His contract is great. So, like, look, we don't know those second picks, the second round picks they gave up. Killian Hayes just got waived, by the way. But like, we don't know the second round picks they gave up, and we'll see what they are. I have a hard time believing that when we get the details on the second round picks, that me or you are going to be up here and we're going to be like, holy shit, I can't believe this fucking deal now. This is awful.
Right.
So look, I just can't say enough about like how good of a job Leandro's done. And I mean, you can probably speak to this even more than me. Like, even when the Knicks were good in the 90s, like, no, I don't think anybody was under the illusion like, wow, what a great front office they have. It was just like, yeah, they're in New York. They have Patrick Ewing and good coaching, and that's what it was.
It was Riley and Ewing. If any credit came for like other moves, it was because people wanted to play for Riley or they wanted to play for Ewing. It was never that Dave Checketts was that hot. Well, fair or not, that was not the vibe. The vibe was right. And that's why part of the terror when Riley left was like, okay, so now why are people going to come? There's two other reasons why I think these moves today are very, very exciting in the present and looking forward. And let's not overlook the fact that as a Knicks fan, it's a completely different perspective to be flourishing in the present and looking forward simultaneously. Like, this is, if you know a Knicks fan, I was out today. I was at my dispensary. I was walking out. Dude was coming in. Never seen this man in my life. He saw my shirt. He's like, this is our year. Like, people are excited. But there's two reasons. It's not just the like, we're going for it, and if it doesn't work, we'll pay the damage later. It's not that. First of all, when the Knicks are good, and I think this speaks to the point of like, you've lost a lot of rookie scale contracts, you'll replenish some. But part of what's appealing about rookie scale contracts is it gives you flexibility in designing a roster, because for a lot of people, it comes down to money. When the Knicks are good, people will come here for less, not necessarily superstars, but role players. Like J.R. Smith was like this. When J.R. came over in 2012, he was in China, not practicing and living it up. Miami wanted him, and these were the Heatles. Miami wanted him. The Clippers wanted him. All these good teams wanted him. He came to the Knicks. And part of it was he knew Melo, and he's from the area. But like, the Knicks were an option because when the Knicks are good, when New York is hopping, New York, not the outer boroughs, when New York is hopping, people want to come here. So you have lost some roster flexibility, but like you said, you haven't lost any of your firsts. So you still retain the ability to now build that stockpile up. And somewhere out there, there is some dude who's going to say, you know what? I want in on that. I could make $3x here, but I want to make it here because I want to be in New York when something happens. The other reason I really like this is because they haven't brought anyone in, including OG. They have not brought in anyone to put them in a role that is not a role where they can succeed. And the Knicks, I feel, historically, pre-Leon Rose especially, have sometimes, they'll bring someone in and they'll try to cram the name into the role, whether it really works or not. And often it doesn't. But in this case, like you're saying, Bogdanovic is not a savior. Come in, come off the bench, do what you do. That's fine. Alec Burks, remember in 2021, Clyde used to call Burks Mr. Fourth Quarter. He was their best player. He was their best player that year. And that was the year Randall was all NBA. But in the fourth, Alec Burks was awesome. But you're not bringing him in to be Mr. Fourth Quarter. He just needs to play his role. OG plays his role. Everyone you've brought in has played a role. That's another reason that this is so exciting. Like, you never know what's going to happen. Injuries, shit happens. But you've lined up everyone in a mindful, intelligent design kind of way that not only says this is a team this year that, like you said, they're not cute. Like, nobody in the league wants to run into the Knicks in the playoffs, including top teams, but also going forward, going into this offseason, they're going to have flexibility, tons of picks, tons of different salary tiers, like not just the Lakers had this a few years ago. If you got 3 max guys and a bunch of scrubs, you can't make many moves. But the Knicks have tiers of contracts. It's very, very exciting, man. It's very, very exciting.
And to your point, like, they have just gone about this. Like, you mentioned the word savior. Like you said, Bogdanovic isn't coming here to be a savior. Mm-hmm. I think Seth probably he's probably the one that like put this idea in my brain, incepted me. But like back on PNT, I remember when they hired Phil Jackson, he was like, the Knicks always operate like this one person is going to come in and save them. Like this, if we just get this guy, he will fix everything. And like, look, I guess you could argue like, sure, Leon Rose saved the Knicks, but like the way they've gone about it, right, is they've built out an organization, and that is reflected in the type of roster they have now. With like there is nobody that's coming to save you. So you have to be proactive and smart and intelligent about how you turn things around. And they have like, and I saw somebody, I forgot who it was, somebody tweeted it out yesterday. And I kind of wanted to like QT it because it was not like he was just like, oh, unless you're the Lakers or Miami, like you basically have to tank at some point to get the level of talent required to be a championship contender. And I wanted to be like, don't tell Leon Rose or the Knicks that. And they haven't. They have not bottomed out. They have gone about it smartly. And yeah, you can say they're fortunate in the sense of like Julius Randle's ascent to stardom was totally unexpected. And obviously, and they didn't sign Julius Randle, right? That was a player they inherited. Jalen Brunson, sure, he is their, he's Leon Rose's godson, and there's all kinds of connections there, but like, isn't that part of the reason why you hired him? So I think that they do deserve credit for that. But like all these other things they've done, like, I mean, look, it hurts to lose quickly, right? But you didn't lose quickly for nothing. You got OG Anunoby back. You didn't lose RJ for nothing. You got OG Anunoby back. And by the way, getting Precious back in that deal is looking insane. Like, I can't believe that they did this thing because he's been really fucking good for the Knicks. And I have like uncomfortable thoughts about how good I think he would be if he could just shoot the fucking ball a little bit.
I know. But me. We all do.
But like they got value there, right? Grimes, yeah. Look, it hurts a little bit to lose him, but like you're not getting nothing out of this deal. You're getting Burks, you're getting Bogdanovic, so you're getting stuff for the guys that you develop, like you drafted, you develop. And I remember Jeremy Cohen wrote a piece pretty early on, and in the Leon Rose era, and he basically talked about is like when you draft Frank Ntilikina at 8 or Kevin Knox at 9, that really hurts because those guys, bless their hearts, like you didn't get value from them in their time here, and you didn't net anything from them on their way out. So like you don't get that benefit. And like now the Knicks are reaping the benefits of having done good work in the draft at various points. Obviously Obi Toppin, they didn't get great value out of that, but again, quickly you got great value out of it. RJ, you got some value out of it, if nothing else.
You did.
Like there's that. So there's
and you got the value for RJ before it expired. Like if they hold on to RJ much longer, no way. Yep.
And then and the last thing is, you talk about like the Knicks have all their picks and all that stuff. That's great. But what's really, really interesting about this is look at the teams that let's just say what teams are contenders in your eyes, right? You would say Boston, you would say Oklahoma City, Minnesota, Lakers, Clippers, whatever. Aside from Oklahoma City, the Knicks have the most draft capital of any of those teams, of any contender. They're basically the only contender, aside from OKC, who has all of their picks plus picks from other teams. So the Knicks are not just in a good position now, and they're not just in a good position moving forward, but they're also in a great position when you consider who their competition is for the services of top-end players whenever whoever hits the market.
Yeah, and you mentioned the benefit of drafting so wisely by this front office. Also, there's a couple other things that Leon Rose is going to get a lot of credit today, deservedly, as the symbol of the front office. But even beyond the actual trade that went on today, and all the great drafting that they've done, there's actually three other things I think that have made this day possible that deserve some commendation. One is how intelligent they've been financially. So some of it is a break, like maybe you got Brunson because of connections, but when they inherited Randle, but when they extended Randle, even at the time, it was fairly like, that's not a bad deal to extend Randall on. And now it definitely doesn't look like a bad deal. Brunson comes in on a very good deal. 2013, the Knicks were really, really good. And I remember literally only 1 year later, like weeping in front of my computer when I went to Basketball Reference and looked at their contracts. And Stoudemire had a terrible contract. Bargnani had a terrible contract. Tyson Chandler had a terrible contract. Like other than, and even Melo was like, "Are you?" It was
fucking
like
Felton's contract sucked. We had that Novak, like they gave Felton and Novak these 4-year deals for no fucking reason. Sorry,
you will never
know
how deep down there is a volcano of rage around the Novak extension that I never bring up because who wants to talk about it 11 years later? But I will murder people over that extension. Anyway, but now you're in a position where you can make these moves where you're bringing in Bogdanovic makes money. Not a huge amount, but like he makes money. But at no point did we have to think, well, the Knicks can't make that move because of their contracts, because the books are so good. That's something that you can't always see the payoff until it happens. Another advantage, like you're saying, we traded all these young players. That's a big risk. It is, but a reason you can do it with a bit more confidence is, and this has not just been with the rookies, but I would say even some of the younger players, the player development in this organization, when they brought in Leon Rose and you're thinking, and Thibodeau, like what is the Knicks' identity? They haven't had an identity forever. They have one on the court and they have one off the court in that when you bring players into this organization, lottery pick, first round, 58th pick, wherever, they will develop and they will improve and they will become viable players. And if there's one individual that I think in both trades this year, the OG deal and this one, made both of them much more palatable than they would be normally. And someone just wrote, I can't remember who it was that tweeted it. They're like, Leonos has arguably made the 3 best value free agency signings in the last 2 off seasons. One being Hartenstein, one being, I can't remember the second one. Maybe it was Brunson even, and one being Dante DiVincenzo. One reason you could swallow quickly going was with everything you lost from him. Okay, Dante can create. Dante, he's not a point guard and he's not the defender exactly the way that IQ is, but like he can cover. We're not trading X to get Y and now we don't have X. You still have some of that in this move now. Getting rid of Jesus. Why can't I think who they just traded? Grimes,
Arcidiacono.
Okay. You lost a lot of shit. We trust. We already had the Arcidiacono weep fest. Trust me. You trade Grimes, young great shooter. Maybe he has some off the ball chops we haven't seen, or there's a guy who's already ahead of that, arguably as good a shooter. Maybe not, but it's a flip a coin. But such a better playmaker. And again, you signed him for nothing, like market value wise. You signed him for nothing. And DiVincenzo, I think, has really been central to making a lot of these things. It's not a total loss because you have and this is another one of the striking things about these Knicks that was not the case for years. Everyone is multidimensional. Everyone. If a lot of them are two-way players, and even if they're not two-way players, they're multidimensional on whatever it is that they do. That also makes it much more possible to like, we're going to pull in what we need because we're not giving away anything critical. That's pretty crazy.
I feel like we should boot Chris Bernhard from this chat because he's jinxing it. So that's just not cool, man. Like, Chris, I think you're gone. Can we do that? Or
we can, but we're not going to. Chris is a loyal member of the program. I guess
I lived through '94. Any Knick Ranger synergy is always a good thing for the Knicks. Trust me. Like, take it. 2012, they both had it too. 2013, take it.
Do you, Conrad? So your Quentin Grimes is a bum handle here. How's my audio? That's also good. Do you like? I don't know. I guess this is a weird way of putting it, but like, do you care that they traded Quentin Grimes? Like, does it like actually resonate with you as a fan? Because for me, like trading Quick and RJ actually resonated with me, where it's like you didn't like I'm allowed to be this way because I'm a fucking fan. I'm not a front office executive running a team. Like, it was an emotional trade for me, and like I was 100% not rational about it until I watched beautiful baby OG play basketball for the Knicks, and he changed my life. But do you have that type of feeling at all about Grimes? Because personally, I'm gonna be honest, like I wanted to keep Grimes just because I was like, I don't really necessarily see a move that's out there that makes sense for the Knicks. But now, seeing how this trade unfolded, like I don't really feel that way at all about it.
Care? Okay, well, the short answer is absolutely fucking not. What would you care about Grimes being traded? People who are like, if they're upset about Grimes being traded, you need to go spend some time with your family. You're talking about like a spot up shooter who does nothing. He does nothing. He's more concerned about his perfume deal. I'm glad that he's going to Detroit because like he's going to have a lot of sponsorships there, you know, like with all, you know, Chanel's going to be really interested in his, you know, getting their perfume out with him, you know, dude, get that Hello Kitty motherfucker off my team. I felt that for a while. Like he's a shaky, he's a spot up shooter who's shaky in big moments. You can't depend on him. He was complaining at the beginning. Okay, look, I'm actually selling this too hard. You know, I'm sure the perfume is great. No, I mean, I remember once I put a poll on Twitter to Knicks fans that was like, so who do you think Quentin Grimes reminds you of most? And this was before we acquired Josh Hart, actually, but I was like, Gary Trent Jr., Josh Hart, or Klay Thompson. And who do you think received the most votes?
Klay.
What were the options? Klay and who?
Gary Trent Jr. and Josh Hart.
Yo, you definitely got Klay, right? It was Klay?
Klay was like 79% of the votes. So, you know, I congratulate the Detroit Pistons for getting the next Klay Thompson, for Alec Burks and Bojan Bogdanovic. And I wish them the best of luck, never, ever getting out of the, you know, bottom of the Eastern Conference.
I guess like the Grimes thing is just weird for me because like I don't know, he's not like a
good player.
There's something. Well, no, I think he's good. I think
no,
he
is.
Really
he is a good player. He's a good player. He holds value. You know, he holds the value of having been selected with a first round pick. So you want to trade him for that value. And we did, I think. I mean, it's actually crazy when you think about it because we got OG, Precious, Bojan Bogdanovic, and Alec Burks, all of them rotation players, without trading a single first round pick. I mean, we traded all our young players, but we kept all of our picks. And we vastly improved our team as Bojan. I mean, the one that made all of us queasy was the OG trade when we were like, oh God, we lost quickly. And OG's not really a scorer. So, you know, how's that going to work? And look, like Fred Katz said, you know, before he put us all on to Emily from Chatterbait, we're all really happy with what happened, especially Emily.
It's here. I mean, look, I'll just read out. Pelton dropped his grade on this on ESPN Insider, but I think this kind of sums up, I think, what we were all kind of feeling about Grimes and what the concern was probably for the Knicks. Some of the shine is off Grimes as a prospect. After hitting 39% of his threes and 64% of his rare 2-point attempts last season, when he started 66 of his 71 games on a playoff team, Grimes has been less accurate from both areas in 2023-24 because he relies so heavily on threes. Nearly 3/4 of his shot attempts this season. He needs to be a plus 3-point shooter to have offensive value. This year's 36% accuracy isn't cutting it. Yeah, I mean, I did. It's unfortunate, honestly, that he got hurt when he did, because I did think that he was showing some signs of like getting to the line, like using his strength on drives to just bully his way there. But like it just wasn't going to happen for him here. And to be quite honest, the Knicks are so good. They're so good that at a certain point, you can't afford to give a guy like Grimes the latitude to expand his game. Because you're like, well, that's cool that you want to do more stuff off the dribble, but like we're really good and we need to try to win fucking basketball games. Also, Jalen Brunson exists, so get the fuck out of here. Like, and let's be real, like Dante DiVincenzo has been nothing short of like incredible offensively. He's been wildly good, better than any stretch that Grimes has ever put together offensively.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know. To me, it's just like it sucks. Like, I guess the best way to put it is like, I tune in to watch Raptors games. I will not be tuning in to watch Pistons games. I will not.
Yeah, have you watched any Raptors games?
I have. I watched their game last night even.
I'm a little addicted. It's like,
Yeah.
it's like if you had a live feed of your ex-girlfriend with her new boyfriend. It's like,
That would be kinky. That would be
can
illegal,
I-
Conrad.
can I? Well, Fred recommended me a great site.
Jeff,
Funny
Everyone's
you
just
mentioned
everyone's
that.
just trying to ignore that I said that, but I won't let
Grimes
it. I won't
reminds
let it
me
die.
of, to me, Grimes is very much like you're in high school and you fall in love for the first time, and you have all this projections about what this person in this relationship might be, and like maybe you're inflating it, but like you really know in your heart other people just don't know this person like you do, and then you go to college and there's like a much wider world out there, and you realize like, oh, that's Grimes to me. Like, he's a nice player. He was maybe their best perimeter defender a year ago, unless I'm not thinking of someone else in the rotation. But now that you have OG, Grimes is looking like that high school partner. And he was like a really great shooter and a great, threat to space. But now you've also got DiVincenzo and Bogdan. So like,
That
you
was how
come
I
home
felt
on
about
Thanksgiving and you're not seeing Grimes again.
that
Grimes
was how
is
I
my
felt
boy.
about OG and RJ. Like, I was like, oh, this guy who
I'm saying.
like
I'm
I don't know. I mean, I never really like bought into Grimes fully. Like, I thought he had potential, but like RJ, I was like all in. I was like, oh my god, he's gonna be the next whatever. And then we traded him. I mean, I obviously had soured on him by then, but we traded him for OG, and then OG steps on the court, and OG, just peripherally knowing him as like this role player on the Raptors, he steps on the court and is just so much better than RJ. It's pretty crazy.
And it's the fit too, right? He just fits so well with our key pieces. So like, yeah, Jeff, thanks for jumping on. How are you feeling today? How are you
Great Chef
feeling on
Rasmussen is here.
Yes.
Good. I think it's a good trade for the Knicks. It's weird. I don't know. It's tough to assess like in a vacuum and ignore what Grimes was supposedly going for, like a year ago, or the rumors he was involved in. It's tough to disconnect from that. It's like, on one hand, Grimes has been worse this season than last season. On the other hand, how big a role did the Knicks play in that? Like, do we truly believe he just got worse as a basketball player? I'm a little bit skeptical. And so it's like, it just feels like another trade where the Knicks got a decent return, but maybe played a part in getting less than they could have got. And so I don't know how to not view it through that lens, And it's like, okay, we got Buyout and we got Burks, two guys in their 30s who are going to help this season. But these are moves you make if you are sure you can win, a playoff series, a couple playoff series. And it's like, I feel like there are real stakes now, It can't just be, we're still waiting for the guy. It's like, no, if you were still waiting for the guy, I'm not sure this is a trade you make right now. You're making this trade because you believe in this core on its own.
Do you think that their floor or ceiling is different after this trade than it was before it?
I think
as far as the playoffs go,
both probably are raised. I think both are probably raised.
Okay.
If we're going to be real, Grimes was not going to play more than like 15 minutes in a playoff game because, assuming relative health, OG's going to get more minutes than him. Hart's going to get more minutes than him. Dante's going to get more minutes than him. That's that. Like, so, and to be fair to him, and I think this is really like a consideration that you need to weigh. He's extension eligible after the season. Like, he's thinking about his next contract. He needs minutes. He needs opportunities to maximize his dollar value. That was not going to happen in New York. And I don't begrudge players for actively voicing or wanting and making their feelings felt about that, and forcing their way to situations that give them a better chance at higher earning potential. Because you have one career, right? You have one career, like, and look, NBA career is not like our careers. Maybe that's a good thing because they don't need to work until they're like 78 years old, which is cool, I guess. But like you have 14, 15 years max, right? Most cases, unless you're LeBron James and you're just a fucking cyborg. But like you have to maximize your ability to make money. And like his opportunities in New York were just always going to be limited. So the Knicks make a move that makes sense for them. And to your point, Jeff, about like, you like they believe in this team. I think it's not just that they believe in this team. It's like, do the Knicks internally after this move? I don't know that I would probably guess that they still don't consider themselves like the favorite or anything like that. But there's this thing that Daryl Morey always says where it's like, if you have a 5% chance in any given season of winning a championship, you should go for it. The Knicks are 100%. They have a 5% chance for sure. Like they have a better than 5% chance as far as I'm concerned. But they have a 5% chance. They are going for it while being prudent about like, the ability to make future moves after this. So, I think that's pretty big. This is a pretty interesting thing. Retro just dropped this in the chat. Shams just said Knicks were in talks about Wiggins before the Bogdan deal. That is pretty interesting to me because Wiggins is a much bigger contract. Obviously, has also been terrible this year. But we've also seen him be a really key piece for a finals team that won a championship. So that's pretty interesting.
That'd be like going back to your addiction to RJ of just like volume scoring. But
we need this. We need this. We need a Canadian.
We really miss RJ.
We need this Canadian wing on this team desperately. I mean,
are you
think
concerned at all? Speaking of Wiggins and what that might have looked like as a different acquisition, are you concerned on any level about the amount of defense that you lose in this trade versus what you bring back? Like, are you confident enough in Burks, I guess, specifically, that
I'm not that worried about that. I'm not really worried about it because to me, it's like that's why you like, in the Infinity War is like, that's why we have a Hulk. Like, that's why we have an OG. Like, so like that's what it is. I mean, Josh Hart also, even though he's been on my shit list this year, he's been competing hard defensively. Dante, obviously, like they have quality defenders. Hart has been fucking awesome. Precious has been awesome, honestly. So I'm not too worried about the defensive part of it. Conrad, what were you gonna ask?
No, I was just wondering, like, so were you guys like? I mean, I probably missed you guys touching on this when I was having my technical difficulties. But what do you guys think about Bogdanovich's fit? Like, I mean, he's a borderline starter. I mean, he's a 20-point per game scorer, so he's basically a starter, even if his defense isn't great. But does he start over Dante when all's said and done, or does he come off the bench? Like, how do you think he's going to be used on the team? Like, what do you think of his fit?
I like him more off the bench. I hesitate to delve into the mind of Tom Thibodeau, but I'll parlay this to Jeff actually as another extension to Conrad's question that I'm wondering about. Again, this goes into Tibs' mindset. One of probably the great unknowns still after all of this, if the Knicks get to the playoffs relatively healthy, and I've written many articles why I think this could work out this year specifically, but the big question still is we don't know how Julius Randle is going to perform in the playoffs. Like, we don't know. We might all have thoughts and feelings and hopes, but we don't know. Do you think the acquisition of particularly Anunoby and Bogdanovic together, that Thibodeau, if Randle had another postseason where he just is not hitting it, do you think Thibodeau would consider politically, like, you know what, I'm going with OG, and if Bogdanovic is scoring and OG is doing okay, now we don't need to have Randle out there struggling for 40 minutes, but he's still Randle, and these guys are acquisitions. So to Conrad's question and to my question, Jeff, please dive into the mind of Tom Thibodeau and tell us what's going on in there.
Yeah, thanks. That's exactly what I wanted this afternoon. No, I don't see a world where Tibs doesn't just ride Randle I just think that that's how he thinks. I think he thinks that no matter how hard he's struggling, the best version of Randall can still appear and give the Knicks the best chance of winning. And part of me thinks that he would see OG Boyan at the 3 and 4 as too small, which is a bit scary to me because it's not too small. But and then to Conrad's question, I think he's going to come off the bench. I don't see how you take DiVincenzo out of the starting lineup.
Yeah, you can.
As much as Tibs likes size, I just think the starting lineup is performing too well. DiVincenzo is performing too well. I have a question for the rest of y'all. I just who do we think the 9th man is? Is it going to be
at
Deuce?
full health or right now?
At full health.
Oh, I was worried about this
Deuce
too.
or is it Precious?
I'm afraid Deuce is out, and I don't like that. I'm afraid he might be. Because it's either him or Precious. I don't see who else it would be.
Couldn't it just, or I guess
or Hart, but he's not going to cut.
Everybody is so like, there's so many injuries, and now we have these fucking trades. It's hard to figure out. But I mean, it could just be Burks. Like, couldn't it just be Burks that's like out, like of the rotation? Isn't that possible,
dude? What? Do you know who's coaching this team?
I agree, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. Deuce, it's probably Deuce. It's probably Deuce, but like Deuce, Tibs is always weird with his like positional designations in his brain. And like, even though he played Burks at point guard for an entire season, I also think in his brain, he's probably like, Burks is not a point guard. I just played him a point because like I needed to make my statement to the front office and like let them know what I think of this, like whatever. I think it could just be Deuce and Burks is like the depth guy, and then it's Bogdanovich, Hart, Precious, and then Mitch when he comes back. But like, I don't know, and that's actually what kind of scares me because I'm just like, if I am not sure, I'm very, very worried about where Tibs is gonna like land on this. Right? He can just make a decision where you're like, wait, what? Like, it could honestly, it could be. You could tell me Precious was out of the rotation, and I would be like, that's not that insane, I guess, for Tibs. Like, he could just do something that makes no sense to me in the moment, but like, end of the day, they have so many options now, and like, it's on Tibs to find the right options, to find the right rotations, to push the right buttons, however you want to phrase it. This is the deepest roster he's had for sure in his time in New York. It's probably the deepest roster he might have had in his career as a coach. And I don't know, like I think you're probably right. It's probably Deuce that's out. But I don't know. Like, I think he does. I do think he likes Deuce, and he has been playing him more. I know injuries have upped his minutes, but like Deuce, I don't know. He's got a skill set that we know Tibs likes. So it's probably Deuce. I don't think it's guaranteed, though. I will say that. And honestly, he could also just be like, I'll just run 10-man rotation, do the hockey sub thing, which I know Jeff will be a huge fan of.
One of the things I like the most about this trade is that if you remember in the Laker game, like there was literally a point in the Laker game where the most logical thought I could have was like, Josh Hart is struggling, but he needs to keep shooting. Like, we need him to keep shooting. And now we really don't. Now there's so many other people who can shoot. I don't think that's not a slam on Hart, but I think the things that Hart does really well, I think, can stand out more when you have now other people around him that can do the things that he doesn't do well, like focus on defense, focus on getting out in transition, focus on energy and all those things. And like you were seeing, like they have really been stretched, and it's going to be not tonight, but once they actually have people together, it's going to be nice just to like not see someone doing something out there that like they should have a Surgeon General's warning against whatever it is that they're trying to do. And that's Hart having to put up 3-pointers on a night where he clearly didn't have it.
Do you guys remember back in 2021, we play? I'm trying to like remember in my brain. We played like a 9-man rotation that year, right? Like, because I remember there was the trio of Rose, Quickly, and Burks coming off the bench, and they were like an insanely good bench unit. and then we had Noel. So that was like a 9-minute. I could see that being sort of the idea here, like recreating like a scoring playmaking bench trio with like Deuce, Boyan, sorry, and Burks, sort of all sharing similar responsibilities.
The issue is Hart. Like you're in the scheme, like Hart is there. So are you going to like you have to run a 10-man effectively if you want to keep Deuce in the rotation?
Honestly, yeah,
and,
I didn't even think about that. Yeah,
and I will say, I thought if they traded for like if they had done the Bruce Brown thing, right? And it was like Fournier and a pick for Bruce Brown. My feeling was like Deuce was most likely to drop out.
Yep.
And I was fine with that because I was like, well, that just makes sense to me. Deuce, and the reasoning for that was like, I know that we extended Deuce. You extended Deuce for 3 years, 13 million. That's like, he is literally paid to be a 10th, 11th, 12th guy on your team. That's the money he's making. Like, and that kind of still holds true, right? I mean, it does hold true. So if Deuce drops out, I don't think it's something that Knicks fans should be too like.
he's out of
about.
here anyway this summer. Like he's going to be in a trade, so I think people need to stop. People need to be realistic.
He certainly has a salary that could be used in a trade. I mean, to the point you made earlier, Miranda, like all these guys, they have all these different types of contracts that they can put together and aggregate salaries. So, yeah, they're definitely in like an interesting spot with the current roster and with how they can structure and make moves, moving forward.
Hold on, a little breaking. ESPN's Dave McManaman with some breaking news. The Lakers are still not close to making a deal for anybody. So just wanted to let everyone know.
Huge news. ESPN.
In case you wondered, that's what's going on with the Lakers.
Nemo Petiter says we still lack creation for the second unit. Jeff, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I guess Burks. Like, is Burks now the bench lead initiator?
Do we think Bogdanovich is going to start? Because if he's still on the bench, if Bogdanovich is off the bench and Burks, I feel like they have plenty of creation.
I mean, they can run a little pick and roll, but like, I don't know if, I want long stretches of playoff games where those are your two best initiators. I do agree with you that they offer more than the Knicks had, but they increased their bench creation. But I think what Nemo's saying is it still might not be enough in the biggest moments.
Hey, Nemo, what's going on? Is he sad that Fournier's gone?
I don't think he cares at this point. He's probably happy. Fournier might actually get some fucking minutes in Detroit. Yeah, I don't think there was no move they were going to make at the deadline. And nobody has been traded at this deadline that was going to address the shot creation issue at the level that like we're talking about. So you can go one or two ways with it, right? You can say, well, if that's not available, I don't want to do anything. You keep the roster the way it is. Or you do what the Knicks did, which is obviously not that. And I mean, I don't know. Like we watched them this entire season. Like there are so many plays that happen throughout the game. And like you see, like you saw them in the Lakers game where it was like, if they just had good 3-point shooters, holy shit, like this possession would be so much better. They added snipers. Like Alec Burks, by the way, doing an amazing Alec Burks thing this season, which is he's shooting worse from the field than he is from three. He is under 40% from the field, and he's over 40% from three. Bogdanovich, I think, is like a 46-40. He's just an elite shooter, and he's been one for years.
Yeah.
There is, and Bogdanovich isn't he averaging like 20 a game this year?
Yeah.
So like
this is like the Allen Houston trade from Detroit. getting a pure scorer.
It's weird you say that because Grimes reminds me of like a dime store Houston in the sense that like when Houston, one of the things that was like Houston's far better at everything. But the interesting thing to me is that Houston was always a much better ball handler than he often showcased. Like in transition, you would see he could do these wicked, like great handles, could do some things, but like he just didn't really bust it out a lot. And like I'm not saying Grimes has that at all, but part of the reason I'm okay with Grimes specifically being gone is that I don't. And it may be a thing with opportunity, maybe a thing with confidence. I don't know. But this is now what? This was year 3 for Grimes with the Knicks? Or year 3, right?
Yep.
Year 3, and like he still, to me, every time he dribbles, looks like he's in the last place on earth that he wants to be in that moment.
He looks like a fool.
He looks like a foolish fool. And on a much lesser, on a much greater level, Houston, you were just sometimes like, why don't you do that more? Like, you're so good at that. And with Grimes, it's like, do you do that? Like, I just don't know.
Yeah.
Someone
The only time Grimes looked comfortable dribbling is when he had to. Like when there was no time to think and he was just attacking a closeout, he pulled stuff out and you were like, why can't you just do that when the game slows down and you have to? Like, well, I don't understand. Like, because he definitely has some semblance of a handle.
He does.
That can be. But to your point, he didn't showcase enough. And then the other point you made that I thought was really great was about like between the ears. We've now seen at least four in the last 2 years, different iterations of a starting shooting guard with these other players. Quickly, DiVincenzo and Fournier for a little bit at the start of last season. Mm-hmm. And say what you want about Fournier, but even none of the other guys ever felt like they were lost in the offense. So at a certain point, it is on Grimes. Like, I don't know what it is. I don't know why, because if I saw somebody tweet, like, if you want to get smarter as a basketball fan, just pick somebody and watch them on both ends of the court rather than watching the game and just like watch their movements. And if you did that for Grimes and isolated his movements, you do see someone that's like, he's not just standing there. He's trying to get open. He's moving. But for whatever reason, he alone seemed to always get lost with the starters. And I don't know, like he would just have entire shifts, have sometimes games where he'd shoot 2 or 3 times. Like I can bet you that if you put Emmanuel Quickly or, Dante DiVincenzo, as we've seen, or even Evan Fournier last season, they're not shooting 3 times in a game. They're just not. And I don't know, at a certain point, that's just on Grimes to be more aggressive in the touches he does get. And he doesn't seem to have that yet. And Knicks, with how they view this season, don't have time to wait around for him to get there.
Mm-hmm. It's a little interesting with Grimes' career because I remember coming out of high school, he was like a top rated prospect, like in the top 5 of his class. And then it was because he was like a 6'6" point guard, thought of that way. And in college, I guess it just didn't work. I mean, I didn't really follow his career all that much, but I know that basically like Houston was like, okay, just become a 3-and-D shooter, and that'll get you drafted, after he sort of like tanked his draft stock. So there could be something psychological going on with Grimes of like, he was told not to do this. He was told he was not good at this. So he's like afraid of doing it now because like you said, we do see flashes that he can do it. It's just in other moments, he looks not confident.
It may come later. I remember in the playoff series, being struck. Like I remember Grimes' first season, you could see a player who was like extremely conscious of never crossing the line. So like his first year, he would shoot it, and that was it. When Grimes had an opportunity to like catch and like he was not going to do anything besides what his job was, which was to catch and shoot. In the playoffs, I remember times where they kick it out in the corner to him. The defender, he gets, he's rushing out. Grimes gets past him, would take like a dribble or 2, and then he's looking to pass it out immediately. He's not looking to get to the basket. He's not looking to put up a little midi. Like he wanted to get rid of the ball right away. He's young enough, and we never know about circumstances. Like I could see him going to Detroit and being allowed to fail repeatedly with no pressure. That was never an option here for him. Maybe that's what you need. Sometimes you just need to be in a place where I can fail and it's fine. And maybe he'll certainly fail there with them. Maybe that's what he needs. The frustration with Grimes.
He'll certainly fail.
Yeah, he's in good company there.
He's certain.
Shwin, I wanted to ask you, in the larger non-Nick universe, if there have been any trades made today that you feel strongly about, one way or the other, that you like it for a team, or maybe if for a team more to the south middle of the country that may have made a deal that you think, I hate that trade. Maybe you have that feeling as well.
I absolutely hate that trade for Dallas. I think that trade is fucking bananas.
Why is that?
I just don't. They don't have any picks to trade now. They traded all their tradable first, and like your team is basically Luka,
But
Kyrie.
Shwin, PJ Washington is too big of a talent to pass up on.
And it's a lightly protected first they gave up. It's like top 2 protected in 2027.
Daryl Morey said, if you have a 5% chance to get PJ Washington in any year, you do it.
and the thing about this that's fucking insane to me, do you remember when they signed Grant Williams? They made a big deal about like, oh, this like they are learning. They added these nice depth pieces. This guy shoots, fucking 50 billion% on catch and shoot threes. What a move! Like they gave out an unprotected pick swap in that to get him effectively, and now they're giving up. They got a first in this weird trade today with Washington and OKC, where Gafford is going to OKC, but somehow Dallas acquired a first in that trade. But they are now rerouting that first to Charlotte in this trade on top of the 2027 first. I don't love that for them. I don't love that for them. Although the big sell that they're trying to push is like, well, guys, we kept Josh Green in the trade, and it's like, okay, that's great. Like Josh Green doesn't get the ball, like he doesn't actually like matter as much to you. I think they just should have stood pat. That's really what I think. I think that sucks, but like they have been like operating so wildly since they drafted Luka, right? They've traded out every pick that they basically could at that point. And I actually liked what they did at the draft last year. Like, and look, Derek Lively's been really good for them. They traded down, they got another first. They took Olivier Maxence Prosper. He hasn't really played much, but like that's fine, right? You got 2 rookie scale guys. Good job. Now you're out of the draft entirely based. I mean, they're not going to be in this year's draft, right? Because they're presumably going to give us their pick. And then they still owe all their first moving forward, basically. They've given up swaps. Like, I just think it's wild. And to do it for PJ Washington is fucking ludicrous. And again, this all stems from their decisions from the 2022 trade deadline into that offseason where they traded Kristaps Porzingis for a fucking, nothing, a bag of beans, right? And then they traded. And then they chose to not make even a competitive offer for Jalen Brunson, and he walked for nothing. And so everything they're doing now, we lost Jalen Brunson. How can we replace him? Okay, fine. We'll get Kyrie Irving at a relative discount because he is very busy spouting off about just posting wild links on his Twitter and all these crazy things. And like, so we can get Kyrie Irving now. Great. He's going to play 65% of games if we're lucky. Wonderful. And I don't know. I just think they're out of control. I think they are probably feeling the pressure of like, I think Luka is under contract through 2026. That's not that far away. And if the only sell, there's 2 sells you have, right? 1, we're really good. 2, we can give you the most money. They can obviously give him the most money. They are probably feeling the pressure of, well, can we pitch to him that we're actually really good? And I don't think they can. And so or they haven't been able to really say that. They couldn't say that to him the last couple of years. So every move they're making feels increasingly desperate. And I just think, man, PJ Washington, I like everything about him in theory. It's a theory. It is a theory. And
I think PJ Washington is the type of guy that the Mavericks should take a swing for, because you kind of, I'm not going to say you were being hypocritical, but I do think you kind of made a point that goes against the greater point you were trying to make when you brought up Josh Green. Like Josh Green is a nice prospect and Prosper is a nice prospect, but when Luka and Kyrie are on your team, it's really hard to develop a prospect like that because you have these two guys who are just so heliocentric and so high usage and play such high minutes when they're in the lineup that like you basically go from the draft to instantly becoming a role player, and that's all you can be for Dallas. So I do think that like, okay, maybe PJ Washington specifically was the wrong guy to go after. But I do think there is merit to the Mavericks looking in that like 23 to 26-year-old age range and trying to buy low on guys who maybe are ready to be good role players next to Luka and Kyrie, and B, might be being undervalued right now. And if you look at the PJ Washington's peripherals, like his overall impact this year has been bad, but he's shooting higher at the rim and from the mid-range than he has in his entire career. The thing that's bogging his overall impact down this year is he's shooting by far the lowest he's ever shot from three, ever. If you normalize his three-point percentage, his overall impact this season actually becomes fine. And I would be willing to bet that his three-point percentage goes up now that he's going to be playing with Luka. And so I guess my point is that, like, yeah, this might not work for them, but I do get the vision. I understand why PJ Washington, given how he plays, given the position he plays, given what he's capable of doing if he works out, how that could be more valuable to them than a late first-round pick. Because, like, what are they going to do with a late first-round pick unless they get a top 0.001% outcome? Like, Derek Lively was a top outcome, and you had to draft a center who is, like, immediately ready to be a good role player right out of college. That's pretty hard to do.
So just to mention this, the reason I said the Josh Green thing, I specifically think they should have. I would have rather traded Josh Green than include the 2027 first. Like, I think that specifically is my issue. And to me, the way I interpret this trade is they are effectively paying the first, yes, for PJ Washington, but also to salary dump Grant Williams, who's been a fucking joke. And I don't love that. I think if you could have, I don't know this is possible. Maybe I'm wrong. But let's say Charlotte's like, you can get PJ Washington. Here are your two options to do it. Give us a first or whatever the trade they actually made. Or instead of Grant Williams being the primary salary piece going out, Josh Green goes out, but you don't have to give up that 2027 first. And I'd have rather done that because, to your point, like, Josh Green's just never going to, and I'm not saying he densely, like, you have Luka and Kyrie, of course you're gonna fucking give them the ball, right? Like, that's no, yeah. Sorry, Josh Green, great having you, buddy, but like, you can figure out how to play off Luka and Kyrie. That's what your role is. So that's just where that was kind of my thinking. I agree that PJ Washington should be better in Dallas than he has been in Charlotte this season, especially. He's a pretty, I mean, in theory, he is a nice fit next to Derek Lively, the version of him that you're thinking about. And as we know, every player that goes to Dallas is maximized and fully operational next to Luka Doncic, who is a wonderfully unselfish player because he averages 10 assists a game, or whatever the fuck he averages.
It's funny that they sent out Seth Curry.
What's up?
Sorry,
we're in lockstep there, yeah. Shwin. But I do think that if there was a type of player that could be maximized, it is someone like PJ Washington. My criticism of
no, for sure. I was mostly I was mostly making a joke, but yes, I in theory, like, I actually do agree with you. I think PJ does make sense there. It's not even. If you told me PJ Washington makes them a better team today than what they gave out, I don't think that's wrong. That's probably true. My issue is, like, when you don't have many assets, is this the type of trade you should make? I don't know. I don't think so, but maybe I'm wrong. This is from Zach, our wonderful Zach Blatter. Worth noting that both Burks and Bogdanovich spent time in Utah. With Johnny Bryant. Burks was drafted by Walt Parent. Have to think those relationships played a role today. Yeah, I mean, definitely part of the equation.
Well, I'm glad they made Johnny Bryant happy. Johnny Bryant was like, "Get me my guy Boyan."
I am absolutely enjoying watching the Mavericks, like, reap what they have fucking earned the last couple of years with one stupid move after another. I'm very here for that this deadline. I also wanted to say that, you know how like they say like real connoisseurs of jazz music are people who can hear the notes that aren't played. If the Knicks had not made a deal today at all, done nothing, it still would have been to me a great trade deadline, because that would have meant that they did not trade for DeJounte Murray. And I just want to say like how good I am with that not happening. That's the note that Leon Rose did not play, and chef's kiss to Leon Rose for that. Jordan Bubb is saying he wants to hear 3 teams that won the deadline, 3 who lost, and 3 who have no idea what they're doing. I can tell you no idea what they're doing. It's not done yet, obviously, but in a general evergreen answer to that question, the Chicago Bulls are the ones that I don't know what they're doing. If you guys want to take someone that you think won or lost, or you don't know what they're doing, but I don't care that the Bulls are struggling, because their fans were such assholes in the 90s when I was a poor young teenager watching them kill the Knicks, that I do not give a single fuck if they suffer for the rest of time. But I don't know what the hell they're doing at all. I don't know how that franchise looks any of their ticket buyers in the face and says, this is good. Like, that's, for me, I have no idea what they're doing.
I'll say a loser, the Lakers. I mean, I don't know exactly what they were supposed to do, but they should have done something.
So I think the Lakers will regret not making a move, but I do think that one area they won in is, and there's still 18 minutes left, so could be surprised, but I never got any of the D'Angelo Russell talks. And like, I've never been D'Angelo Russell's biggest fan, but he's been really good this season. Mm-hmm. And people are acting like he should just be like dumped, like he should have been a salary dump. And I think that would have been a disaster for them. So I think keeping him, I don't get why Austin Reeves is viewed as so much more valuable than D'Lo, and D'Lo is a year older and been way better this season. So to that point, and to your overall point, I do agree that they're going to regret not making a move, but I just want to throw in, I think they're going to be happy they kept Russell.
Yeah, I agree with that. This is from Jordan Bubb posted this. The Hawks and Raptors are still discussing trades for DeJounte Murray and Bruce Brown. Per Woj, both decisions will come at the buzzer in 20 minutes. The Lakers are just in a weird spot. Like, I don't know what move is actually out there for them to like do. Like, if people are like, they got to make a move to be a contender. Okay, what fucking move is making them a contender? Like, I'm sorry, like that piece is not out there. And if that piece is out there, guess what? There are going to be like 5,000 other teams that have more assets, that have more value to give out to acquire that player. So like, I agree with you. The Lakers are a loser, but like in the lens of like, what were they actually supposed to do? I just don't know. I don't know what piece was out there for them that really makes sense. Like, what trade makes sense. Like, I don't think the DeJounte Murray thing for them would have made any sense. Like, I think they're smart to like not give up what the Hawks want for him.
Do you think they could have beaten our deal for Boyan?
I'm assuming that Troy Weaver, 1, exists just to like help the Knicks or something. But 2, yeah, but like, yeah, right. But like 2, I think somebody said it in here. Like, he's like our Kevin McHale. But like, I'm assuming Detroit valued Grimes, right? That's what that trade just signals to me, is like they like Grimes. And I don't know, like, do the Lakers have a young player that they would have valued? Like, D'Angelo Russell makes no sense to them. Who's the kid they drafted? Jalen Hood-Schifino. He's barely played, right? So they're like, if the Pistons didn't like him at the draft, why the fuck would they like him right now? And then it's like, then the only pick they had to give out is that 2029 first and swaps. And it's like, are they really going to give out? Like, so yeah, I guess they could potentially have been on our trade, but like, would it have made sense for them? I don't know. I think that would have been hard. But to your point, they are playing a dangerous game now with LeBron. Like, LeBron has, he's doing his LeBron thing, right? He's like, I'm totally gonna leave. I might leave. I might do it. Don't mind me wearing blue and orange to the Garden. Don't mind me throwing on this Knicks towel after the game. So it's we'll see. look, if the Lakers are losers at the trade deadline, I can say, in all honesty, I'm very happy about that because the Lakers should always be losers. And someone who loves the Lakers suffering, probably more than any of us, has joined us. His name is Jrue. That is at the local guy on Twitter. Jrue, how are you doing?
Fantastic. How's everybody else doing?
Doing good, man.
We're rejoicing. Our Knicks made a beautiful trade this morning, and we are.
You know what? Initially, I was like, "Is that it?" And then, as a journalist and as a guy who breaks news, if you're Woj or Shams or whoever, why are you leaving out the second part of that trade? because not only was Knicks Twitter in a tizzy and in a frenzy about it, I'm seeing people around the league like, what are they doing? Like, what are they doing? And then you realize, oh, okay, they got additional pieces back because obviously, I know that there are a lot of people within the Knicks fan base that are that a lot of them like QG and thought that he was certainly worth something or worth more than what they initially thought they got. And then league wide, kind of the same thing. I think there are a lot of people who see upside there and see that he could get you something back of value. And then to see that they got Bojan and then also Tibs' favorite, Alec Burks. I mean, after a generational performance last night in Sacramento, by the way, that guy,
he was awesome last
that guy for a half season couldn't throw a rock into the ocean as a Sacramento King, right? And Kings fans cannot stand that man because every single time he comes back to Golden One Center, he lights it up. Like last night, didn't matter if it was wide open, catch and shoot, off the dribble. If he was getting the guy flying at him, he was hitting everything last night. So good job on Troy Weaver maximizing his trade value.
Good news for you. The Knicks have not played the Kings yet this year. So two more matchups against Alec Michael Jordan Burks.
He's probably not going to do anything at MSG, but I guarantee you when he makes his second return to Golden One Center this year, he's going to light it up. I guarantee you. It's going to be a 30-piece.
Huge trade here. Spurs are trading Doug McDermott to the Pacers for what looks like a future second round pick. So Pacers really fortifying their defense. Doug
McDermott has spent half his career on that San Antonio to Indianapolis highway. He's always going back and forth, man. They call that guy 18-wheeler because he's just zoop.
The Atlanta Hawks.
Another team. I was going to say
DeJounte Murray sources tell ESPN no trade for him. Sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
So they're the team I would say lost. Like I don't know, like similar to what Matt said about the Bulls. I don't know what the fuck the Hawks are doing. Like, how do you at least not trade Capella? What they have some nice young pieces in Jalen Johnson and Okongwu, and how can you be a team that's this mediocre and not have room to play your young guys? Like that's untenable to me. That is like the definition of purgatory. That's what people have been saying the Knicks are in. But this is at least when the Knicks were in purgatory, the quote unquote purgatory the last few years. Maybe they weren't optimizing them, but Grimes, Barrett, Quickly, Obi, they were on the court and playing. Like AJ Griffin getting healthy DNPs. The guy they drafted in the first round last year is just in the G League. Okongwu is a backup to Clint Capella. All for what? This is like it was on Landry Fields. It was on the front office to clear up space for these guys and make the season matter. And they're just punting another season for what? I don't know what they're doing.
I'm waiting for the Landry Fields like total heel turn, and it turns out that he's been a plant like of Leon Rose the last couple of years, and he's just there to fuck shit
up. This is from Zach. The Spurs finally got Marcus Morris after he was.
Oh yeah,
I
forgot about that.
That is very funny. The Hawks just make no fucking sense to me. Like, and I like to just at a very basic level. DeJounte Murray seems like just an unstable personality to have in a locker room. Like this guy is responding.
For sure.
Yeah, it's just very weird. And to
He
your
can
point,
type
like,
really fast though. Like he can type
Yes.
really, really fast.
the guy responded to a DM like 1 minute later from some fan just shitting on him. Like, what the fuck?
And this all happened the second he left San Antonio, too. It was like the second he got out of the Spurs ecosystem, he just became unhinged. It was the most shocking transformation I've ever seen.
Yeah, he was so quiet and like, oh, that's a dude. Now you're like, I don't know.
It's weird. I don't like the vibes with that team at all. And honestly, like, look, I've shit on Trae Young a lot, but like, when I watched him this year, I feel like Trae Young's actually trying on defense. He's never going to be a good defender because he's just small and whatever. But like, he is. Oh, look at that! Look at that! Huge trade for the Kings here, massive. The Milwaukee Bucks are trading Robin Lopez to the Sacramento Kings. Source tell ESPN. Lopez is expected to be waived and become a free agent.
I'm
So-
coming
No.
home.
They have to keep this guy. At the bare minimum, what the Kings need is a guy who's gonna fight mascots. Something that's gonna light a fire underneath this team, because they have none of that right now. They have zero heart, zero fight. At least this guy will come out and set a tone by fighting somebody pregame and get them going.
He'll fight the mascot. He'll definitely fight.
Yeah,
the mascot.
exactly. Yeah, he will fight a mascot. Yeah.
I but like to the Hawks thing, like I think Trae Young is actually like they got DeJounte Murray, right? What was the theory was like, oh well, we need this type of player to kind of like give to protect Trae Young defensively, and he's going to help out offensively because he gives us another ball handler. And like honestly, you watch them enough, like it's kind of insane to say, but like Trae Young's doing his part. I don't know what DeJounte Murray has been doing all year. I know he's been better of late, but like he's just, I mean, this is his like peak efficiency season. He's like 56 true shooting or something. It's like he's just not going to be an efficient scorer. He's on high volume. I think if you could have just gotten off the contract and gotten a first round pick and gotten like some intriguing young player, you should have just done it. And I don't know. The fact that they didn't and that they basically just punted on that is just very, I don't know. I think it's a big fuck up on their part.
Ace Bouchard in the comments mentioning the sadness today of the Malachi Flynn hive. I just want to remind you that the Malachi hive is anytime you see two bees just flying by. That's the hive. There's no Malachi Flynn hive. Nobody's sad today for Malachi Flynn. Don't talk about a Malachi hive. There's not a thing. There's no such thing as that. Malachi hive. No.
Wasn't he a popular college player? Or am I making that
Yeah,
up?
he was on the San Diego State team that just before the pandemic shut everything down, they were undefeated. And then I think they dropped their first game of the season to Utah State and Mountain West Conference legend Sam Merrill. And then the season ended like a week later. But that San Diego State team was probably on its way to a number 1 seed that year for the tournament, bare minimum of 2. And they're probably going to make some noise. So, yeah, he was a very, very popular college player. He's like, I love college hoops. He's one of my favorite players of the last like 4 or 5 years. But it just has not panned out because everybody was thinking, oh, he's kind of similar to Fred. Like, this is kind of like their contingency plan for Fred. It just never worked out for him in Toronto that way. It's just, their draft values were a little.
Because I know that Toronto fans like despised him by the end.
Yeah.
I never I mean, he probably played a total of like 16 minutes on the Knicks, but I didn't think he was like, they were like, he's got CTE or something. And I was like, he's
Good Lord.
fine. I don't know. I was bracing myself for like some real bonehead type moves, but
so Jrue, that you're here, looks like the Kings probably are not doing anything at this trade deadline. How do you where are you with the Kings? Because I watch them quite a bit just because it's like, they're the West Coast game that you get a lot of times when the Knicks are done. I have felt all year, and I think, Jeff, we talked about this, where it's like, I know their record is pretty solid, but like when I watch them, it doesn't, and maybe it's just the fact that like they made that big step last year. So you're like, is there more coming right now? And it just has kind of stagnated, but also their point differential is worse this year. They've had some weird losses too. Like they had this great road trip, but then they have this fucking loss to the Pistons at home. It's like, are you good with them standing pat, or do you think they they should have made a move.
Real quick, Connor in the chat says, "Raptors fan here. We loved Malachi until we realized giving him more minutes was awful." Yeah, that would. Yeah, I would cool on a guy if that was the case too.
Why won't Nick Nurse play Malachi Flynn? Oh, that's why.
Okay. Yeah, you know what? I'm definitely somewhere in the middle. I think if you go online, and I always have to remind myself, and we should always remind ourselves, guys, that Twitter, X, what do you want to call it, very vocal minority of each fan base, right? Like, I always think that the online community is how that is the pulse of the fan base. Not true. And I talking to people who are not chronically online. They're kind of somewhere in the middle with this team. I think a lot of people understand that they're only a year and a half into trending in the right direction, learning how to be a winning team, right? Like the window, like how open is the window? What is this team stealing? We don't truly know yet. And I think people want to take a big swing and bring in somebody that is a big fish because they want to see what the ceiling is. But as a guy who's watched Monty McNair operate these past 3 years, I know for a fact that this man loves having flexibility, loves being able to have a war chest that is just completely and fully available to him. And right now, that's not the case because the Kings owe the Hawks a first-round pick from that Kevin Huerter trade a few years ago, or from the summer of 2022. And once that conveys, that will be a thing that opens up again. Like he's going to be able to trade first-rounders. So I don't think he's going to sacrifice flexibility at this deadline and then get a first-round pick that he can trade in the summer and then all of a sudden have cap tied up because you've got Sabonis his new money kicks in this summer. And then Fox is going to be in year 3 of his initial max, and he's looking for the super max, which is probably coming soon. And then Keegan Murray, who you will eventually have to pay, he's extension eligible in 2025. There are so many things that they have to consider here. I think that Kevin Huerter and even Harrison Barnes, the much maligned Harrison Barnes, 3 years, $54 million.
Your favorite player.
Oh, dude, I love him. Comes from a great family. We talk about Craig. We talk about Craig McDermott. Doug McDermott. He's a fellow Ames, Iowa legend. Like those guys, just great dudes. Like love him. But people hated that contract. People in Sacramento did not like that contract. And if you looked at some of the money that was being thrown around to small forwards or 3-4 men this past summer, Harrison's money really wasn't all that bad, I don't think. And his deal gets better this summer. He'll have 2 for 36 left on the books. Kevin Huerter will have 2 for roughly 33 million left on the books this summer. That gives you a lot more room to maneuver when you throw in a first round pick as well. So I think this summer is probably what Monty McNair is going to be betting on. If it's time to make a big swing and if he believes that it is the time, then the summer will probably be better. You don't have to deal with the deadline tax as well, right? Like giving up more assets than you need to. I'm definitely somewhere in the middle, and I'm definitely leaning towards, okay, the summertime is the time to make the move because, again, this team is very, very new to this whole winning thing. I mean, this is the first time in 17 years that this is about to happen in back-to-back years. So I think it would behoove Monty McNair to keep that flexibility. And you're right, there have been some weird losses this year. This team's just kind of all over the place. The rotations have been wonky. Mike Brown's just throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks, or at least that was the case for a little bit. He's kind of stabilized his rotation now, but I really don't see the need to make such a huge swing when you don't really know what you have in-house yet, because I don't think anybody was expecting Keegan Murray to make this huge leap defensively. Now if he can become a legit two-way guy, that makes your job a little bit easier as far as looking for the right pieces to put around him, Sabonis, and Fox. It's just, are those pieces available right now and for the right price? I don't think so. So summertime is probably going to be when that happens. I'm definitely okay with them kind of standing pat. Although I am kind of bummed that they're just going to cut Robin Lopez. Like, come on, man. Like,
so were you not excited when there was talk about possibly Siakam? Like, was that something that you thought, no?
Yeah, I was leaning no on that because he's going to get his max this year, this summer, right? I would rather not give somebody on the other side of 30 a super max. He would have been eligible for the full super max, right? So I would have been against that. He and Sabonis not really being able to space the floor. I mean, playing those two guys together, I just don't know how that would have been feasible. And Fox has made a shooting leap, but if you have two guys that are non-shooters that kind of occupy kind of the same spots on the floor, I just don't really see how that was ever really going to work. The Pacers seemed like that was just the out. It always kind of seemed like it was pointing that way, and it makes a lot of sense. He and Halliburton are going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully Halliburton gets healthy and they can get a lot of run together after the All-Star break. But yeah, I definitely was leaning the other way on that. And I love how that trade rumor died the same day that it went out. I mean, it was, the Kings are talking to, Masai, maybe they're going to get Siakam, and 2 hours later it was, and then coincidentally, Monty McNair came out on the floor because I'm at like every Kings game. He came out onto the floor and talked to a Raptors exec for like a good 15, 20 minutes after the Kings played the Raptors that night in Sacramento, that same day that rumor came out. And then as he's walking off the floor, I got a chance to just say hi to him real quick and talk to him for a little bit. And my buddy's an idiot. My buddy who took a picture of us told Monty told Monty and I to say Siakam on 3. And Monty was not happy about that. He was like stone-faced, like did not react to it at all. And he was just like, all right, man, I'm out of here. Like he had a lot of people just like, a lot of people were trying to chirp at him and tell him like, oh yeah, do this, do that, which is common. I mean, fans are going to be fans, but that was crazy that happened. And he didn't look like he was really, I don't think he was out there talking about any deals or anything like that. I think it was just like a quick catch up with a buddy or something like that. But it just seemed like the way that rumor went out and how quickly it died, I would imagine that the Raptors, I mean, Masai probably asked for something that Monty was not willing to part with, whether it was picks or certain players, and that was that. So yeah, I definitely was probably not in favor of the Siakam thing. I mean, it would have been fun for maybe like 5 minutes until you realize, oh, this is not a modern pairing of players that would be feasible long term. Yeah.
Conrad, you want to any last thoughts before you get out of here?
I got to run. Thanks for everyone for having me on. Get some thoughts out about this trade. Eulogize. Fix the audio. It's actually going to be a problem going forward for Shwin and our podcast. So we'll see how that goes. Great to eulogize Quentin Grimes. Fred, if you're listening, send me some more recommendations, some links to various other live streams that you like. Always open. My DMs are open, as apparently yours are too. Talk to you later.
Better God. The Bulls. So okay, just to get through some very huge, massive needle-moving trades. The Sixers, we'll talk about them, but they traded Jaden Springer to the Celtics for a second-round pick, and then the Celtics traded Delano Banton to the fucking Blazers for a heavily protected second-round pick. So good for the Blazers, I guess. I don't really get that move for anybody, but I guess for Boston, they probably just needed to dump a player, and Portland's like, sure, we'll do it. The Philly, like, Embiid is done, right? He's got to be done for the year or something, because the trades they made today, it's like they just traded Beverly and Springer for basically second-round picks each. I don't know. And they traded Springer and Beverly, like, whatever you think about them as players, they traded them to a direct rival, like direct competition in the East. So that's pretty wild.
Do you think getting healed means that they feel there's no Embiid this year? Because I thought getting healed means they're still holding on to a hope that like they'll try to get him back at the very last minute and get someone who can space the floor.
I haven't watched enough Pacers to have a strong take on this, but I know somebody here who's probably watched a lot of Buddy Hield in their lives, and I would venture to guess that I don't know. He's so inconsistent, man. He's so inconsistent. Like his months where he's shooting well, he looks like this fucking amazing offensive player, and then when he can't shoot, it's brutal. Knicks tape also writing this in. Warriors are trading Corey Joseph to the Pacers. Good job, Golden State, doing absolutely nothing. Congratulations.
Oh yeah, Jim Park's gonna be real happy about that. If you guys know who Jim Park is.
That thing you posted the other night was fucking crazy.
Yeah, I've never just the passion from that man. You just got to respect it. Yeah, Buddy Hield. It's crazy how he's basically just kind of become, all right, we'll trade this guy, or he'll be rumored to be traded just because there's gonna be money coming off the books if X team requires him, right? And that's kind of what it's kind of become when it comes to Buddy these last couple of years. He's serviceable. Look, if you basic, and again, having watched him for how long was he in Sacramento? For 5 years. 4 or 5 years. The more you minimize his role, the better. So I would hope that Nick Nurse is going to, if he wants to actually use him and wants to actually put him in a position to succeed, they will minimize his role. It's just, I think I'm with you, man. I don't think Embiid's coming back. I just don't think that that's happening. That the knee thing just doesn't sound like it's very promising. Especially it's just because he's a big man, and I mean, that last game he was playing, he just did not look right even before he got rolled up on, right? Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. Look, the guy can shoot. Buddy can shoot the shit out of the ball. I mean, he's a dead eye shooter, owns so many franchise records. I've seen that guy just get hot and he'll stay hot for, a prolonged period of time occasionally. But like you said, Shwin, he's just so incredibly inconsistent, and just he will make you rip your hair out sometimes with some of the stuff that he does out there, both offensively and defensively. So I'm intrigued to see it. I'm curious, but I mean, it's not really a move that makes me go, oh wow, like good for the Sixers. It really just depends on how he's utilized.
He is like, from a synergy standpoint, almost exactly what Philly would need it when healthy. They're just not healthy. So like it's a weird trade for them to make unless they feel confident that Embiid can be back for the playoffs. Because Hield's 30. I guess maybe his contract, the number is he unrestricted this summer, or how much longer does he have on his contract?
It's expiring.
Yeah, it's an expiring. Yeah.
Because that's their plan, remember?
So I guess that goes to that. Like I don't feel this way anymore, or I don't feel strongly about it anymore. I do remember when the Knicks traded for OG, feeling like, what if Philly? Wait, what happened, Sean?
Okay, now I feel very good about my take that the Mavericks are fucking insane. The Mavericks say they've agreed to swap their own 2028 first-round pick with Oklahoma City's own 2028 first-round pick in order to obtain a 2024 first-round pick from the Thunder. That pick will be sent to Washington to complete the Rashawn Holmes for Daniel Gafford.
Oh, yeah, that's right, because they're still looking for draft capital to complete that deal.
Sorry, didn't mean – that was blowing my brain. Sorry. Go ahead.
So I guess they're hoping to get somebody in free agency this summer. And I remember feeling worried, like, okay, what if it goes badly in New York for whatever reason? OG's just like, I don't actually want to play in New York, because that would obviously make the results of that trade a little bit different. But there aren't really too many options for Philly, so I don't really know what Philly's trying to do here. If Buddy and Embiid are never going to play together, and then Buddy's just going to leave and unrestricted, like, who do they even get this summer?
That's what I don't really understand. I don't know. There is no, the free agents of consequence are OG and Pascal, and by all reporting and everything that we've seen or heard, he is, those guys are probably going to re-sign with the teams that acquired them. And I don't know, so to the Buddy Hield thing, one, what do we think about Buddy Hield? Him and Tyrese Maxey in the backcourt together might be really cool on offense. It is going to be terrible on defense. That's so bad. They were down yesterday at halftime to the Warriors, and Steph was playing like fucking 2019 Frank Ntilikina or something like that, and they were down at half. and then Steph woke up in the second half, and that was that. Like, it was ridiculous. They're just bad without Embiid. I think they're now 5-12 or 5-13 without him. Like, they're just a bad team without Joel Embiid. Like, there's a chance they drop into the fucking play-in. Honestly, like that's actually potential. I don't know. I think these. I think when you see the trades they made today, I just come away from it thinking like I think Embiid's done for the year, and they didn't get a big man, or at least not yet. Sometimes deals will leak in a little bit after, but I just it's pretty wild to like they are almost the way I view their deadline is almost like they punted. They basically punting the season, and if Joel Embiid is out, maybe that's a little bit more understandable. But if he comes back, and this is what they did, that is, I mean, you're like begging for him to ask out at that point. Like it's crazy to just punt on a season with a guy of his caliber and his age, and especially like given his injury history, the years that you get from him, you need to value them at a really really high level because who knows how long he's going to play for. But yeah, it was. I don't know. That's a weird one for me.
I just want to say how super sweet it was, Shwin, that you bothered to distinguish 2019 Frank Ntilikina as if it's any different than 2020 or 2018 or 2024. That was very sweet. I just want to say that.
That year of Frank. That was the one. That really,
we'll all remember 2019 Frank Ntilikina.
We'll always love Frank. Frank, you're always good at Dykeman, as far as I'm concerned. This is from Jordan Bub. The following 5 teams did not make a trade of any kind between opening night and the 2024 deadline: Lakers, Bulls, Hawks, Nuggets, Magic. The Bulls.
30 months now without a deal. Someone just wrote 30 months.
Yeah,
it's not like they needed one.
Right. They haven't traded a player. They've not had a trade with a player in 30 months. That is fucking.
They've made more widows cry in the last 30 months than they've made trades. That's disgusting.
Are you guys fans of the Premier League at all?
Yes.
Yes.
So I'm a oh god, I want to throw up in my mouth whenever I say this out loud, but I'm a Tottenham Hotspur fan.
Now we all want to grow up a little bit.
And they went 3 transfer windows without signing a single player, and somehow got to the Champions League final, but with like half that squad was just dead. Right? I cannot believe that the Bulls have pulled off the equivalent of that in the NBA.
And they are not anywhere near a Champions League final.
Exactly. In the NBA, where there's always player movement and there are always trades and signing, like they have not traded a player.
Owner, right? That has to be ownership. That can't be Karnisovas saying, no, we're good. That has to be.
I like the idea that like there's like a ghost in that office that like haunts them because of the Vucevic trade. Like they're just like constantly being reminded of how bad a trade that was. And they're like, oh God, can't make another one of those. And they just do nothing.
I don't think it's not bizarre to me that the Nuggets have not made it. Do you guys find it puzzling that Denver hasn't done it?
They apparently. But Denver's like that's understandable to me because they've maxed out their picks basically. Like, they don't have a lot of draft capital to trade out, and they're at least committed to this idea of like we're gonna draft these older college guys and have them come off the bench, and that'll be like our thing. So at least they have an idea of what they're. And also, it helps when you have Nikola Jokic and you've won a championship. You get the benefit of the doubt. But like the Bulls, apparently they made Alex Caruso untouchable today in conversations. Like, what are we talking about here, man? Like Alex Caruso, like if Alex Caruso's untouchable, like fucking just let's end the league. Let's just end the NBA because that is crazy. That's crazy. Right. Alex Caruso. I also saw a fun one. By the way, Tyus Jones did not get traded, right? So that's interesting to me. But I saw somebody tweet out that like, oh, the Wizards are they're informing teams that they will not be trading Kyle Kuzma. Is that a thing that like you start calling teams and be like, hey, just want to let you know we are not going to be trading Kyle Kuzma, bro. So I just wanted you to hear it from me directly. Are the Bulls like, I guess they're a playing team though. I don't know. It's not like, I don't know. They're such a weird team. I just think like Kobe White's been so good for them this year.
Has
It
been.
feels like pivoting into, hey, let's build around Kobe White is a fucking no-brainer, and they won't do it. I don't know.
More breaking news: PJ Tucker will not be requesting a buyout, according to Bleacher Report. So all of you dreaming of PJ Tucker coming to your team this year, go back to bed. Go back to bed. Maybe next time.
Somebody actually asked me about. I had a fellow Kings fan ask me about him last night. He was like, "How would you feel about PJ Tucker?" And I said, man, whatever. Yeah, sure. Yeah, bring
that
him
was
in.
the correct answer.
Yeah,
whatever.
Yeah, it's fine. But damn, he's not. Damn, man, my buddy's gonna be bummed to hear about that.
PJ Tucker, Hive, watch out.
Yeah, watch out, Tucker Hive.
I actually feel like the Clippers should have done something. I mean, they're awesome. They're really good. But, like, it feels like they might have had an opportunity to get another depth piece, but it's not the biggest thing. I'm surprised they actually kept Bones, to be honest.
So, question for Jrue, since you're the non-Knick fan in the current vicinity, I'm curious of this from everybody, and where your answers differ. Assuming like full optimum health for the Knicks, they get to the playoffs. Let's say the 3 seed, just for the hell of it, or whatever their seeding is. If the Knicks are fully healthy, they get Randall back, they get Mitchell Robinson, they get OG back. How many teams going into the playoffs would you say in the league are clearly favored in a series over the Knicks? I would say the Celtics. I would still say the Nuggets. I would say Clippers, maybe.
Are you asking, like, do we think they'd be favorites, or will the books make them betting favorites?
You.
Okay, yeah. So I'm in agreement with the Celtics that they would be favored.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about the Nuggets. Well, I don't know. I got a chance to see the Nuggets once live this year in Sacramento. They were missing Murray that game, and I think AG was just coming back off of an injury, so he didn't really look right. They've been a different team over the last month or so since then, so I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. How do you guys feel about Minnesota, Oklahoma City?
Yeah, the Knicks. I'd take OKC, not Minnesota though.
Okay.
Yeah, I would go with Clippers, Thunder, Nuggets, and the Suns in the West. This is like if the Suns made it to the NBA Finals, I would just have to assume that they clicked their top end talent clicked to the point that like they'd be favorites against the Knicks. And then in the East, I'm taking only Boston, and I could be convinced. I could be convinced of Milwaukee, but that's it.
Yeah, I would only take Boston in the East as well. The Cavs, after seeing them the other night, they were impressive. The Cavs are to me, it's two different conversations. One, talking about the Cavs in a vacuum, and two, in the direct matchup against the Knicks. The Knicks are just a horrible matchup for them, like just absolutely horrible. They're going to expose those two bigs. They're going to expose that front line. Right. I'm not saying they're a lock to win, but I do think that they're a small favorite against the Cavs in the series. Yeah, I'm in agreement with you there. Yeah, what is it about OKC though that would have you taking OKC over the Knicks?
Yeah, I'm not sure I would take OKC this year over the Knicks if they got there.
Okay.
Yeah, I just think they're really good.
They're good, and yeah, Shea's Shea. I mean, they played in Sacramento twice, and I was at both those games. And for whatever reason, the Kings just have their number. The first time they were without Fox, and the Kings Sabonis just basically just absolutely just bullied Chet Holmgren. They didn't really have much of an answer for him. The Kings were running the same action. It was just Spanulis action. It was just like gut zoom action over and over and over again. And the Thunder could not deal with that. They had no answer for it. And then in the second game with Fox back and everything, OKC at full strength. I mean, I think both times that they played one another, OKC was healthy. For whatever reason, they just could not. They didn't have an answer for Sabonis, and they just could not deal with that version of the Kings team at that time that was just playing physical basketball. Mm-hmm. And I mean, if there was a rep that the Knicks had, and if that Tibs had, it would be that, they play a physical brand of basketball. I don't know. I think it'd be an incredibly fun series to watch. But But I'm not sure I would take OKC in that.
This is a random aside, but do you remember the play-in Kings Thunder game in the group stage when like Keegan Murray was struggling really hard early in the season, and it seemed like the Kings were they almost didn't care about the game. They were just like, Keegan, shoot the fucking ball every single time you touch it, and we're gonna get you in rhythm. That was like one of the most fun I've had watching a non-Knicks game.
Yeah. He dunked on I want to say it was Chet. I think he dunked on Chet, and that got him going a little bit. Yeah. And that was also I'm buddies with Keon Ellis, one of the two-way guys on the team. And so I don't know, man. He started a few games after Fox got hurt, and it was like, for me, like watching my buddy out there, like it was kind of like an out-of-body experience. And so it was like he was out there playing meaningful minutes against the Thunder, making an impact, having to guard Shea. I mean, Shea's gonna get his. Like Shea still dropped 30, whatever. But watching him out there, playing meaningful basketball, contributing to winning. Like that's what I remember those games for, was that he was still getting minutes and still contributing to the team at that point in time. Since then, he's kind of fallen out of the rotation. But at that point in time, at that time of the year, the Kings were playing kind of a different brand of basketball than what they're playing now, which is, I don't know what the hell they are right now. But at that point in time, having to manufacture offense without Fox for a few games, they kind of had to switch up their identity. They knew they had to lock down on defense a little bit more. And that, for whatever reason, really, really threw the Thunder off kilter. I don't know what it was, but the Kings just kind of had their number. I'm curious to see how, because they play one another on Sunday, so they play each other Super Bowl Sunday. That's going to be in Oklahoma City. I'm curious to see what that matchup is going to look like this Sunday, because the Kings are just kind of all over the place right now. But based on what I saw early on in the season, I don't know, man. You put this Knicks team with OG as currently constructed, and then obviously, like, let's say hypothetically, if they do ever get, they get to the finals, they face OKC, Bojan, Alec Burks integrated right there in the fold. I mean, I would love to see, not just the top end talent on those two teams go at it, but also the complementary guys as well, because those two teams have depth. So.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna, because they have another game against Oklahoma City at the end of March, so I'm definitely gonna watch that matchup closer, because I would believe I will say that it's hard to really key in on the matchup part of it for every single team in the league. I was probably, for OKC, I'm probably less familiar about them specifically than the other teams I was talking about. And I was speaking more in a vacuum. It just seems like this season they're a better team than the Knicks in a vacuum, but I could be wrong about that too. They've just been really impressive to me overall.
I think that the one team that I honestly am like, I think Boston is a tough matchup. I will say though, like they're starting to like kind of mirror a lot of stuff that I felt about them last year, where it's like they start off great, and then as the season goes on, you're getting more and more kind of like, well, do they have enough dribble penetration? Do they have enough shot creation? Like, do I trust Jason Tatum? Like all these type of things. And I don't know. I'm not totally in love with them. Also, like Porzingis is a tough matchup, but I just have a lot of faith in OG and like what the guys you can throw at him now that are available to us on the roster. So we're more capable of challenging them than I felt at the start of the year. That's that much for sure. In the East, I don't really fear anybody other than that, though. Like, I think Cleveland's good. I think they're much better than they were last year. I still think that we match up pretty well with them, especially now after these trades. And then in the West, like, I mean, honestly, Denver's just weird to get a read on, because it's like they did this last year, right? Where they like at some point in the season they were like, okay, I think we're good into the playoffs. We'll just like we'll be fine.
Yeah, 52 wins as a number one seed. Like that hasn't happened in the West in maybe ever. And so seeing that going into the playoffs last year, I was like, who's winning this conference? We have two 50-win teams. Like, and yeah, you're right. I think they said, yeah, we'll check out of the regular season, and then we'll circle back in April, and got all the way to the finals.
And then and I like OKC. I feel like they did not get enough done at this deadline. I just think they had an opportunity to, like, given the picks at their disposal and all that stuff, I just think they had an opportunity to kind of really fortify their roster, which they didn't do. They're obviously very good. And I'll just be flat out, like, young teams don't win in the playoffs. Very, very rare. Like very, very rare. And I think you bet on that as a rule of thumb. And like for that reason, I would just fade them in the playoffs as like a true contender, legitimate threat, especially again, because they just didn't do anything as deadline. I like Minnesota, but I don't know that Monty Morris fixes their, their inability to do anything in the fourth quarter offensively, except against the Knicks. Weirdly enough, that was bizarre. But like that one's tough for me. I don't know. Like this league is pretty wide open, man. And I do think Boston is in a higher tier than us. Like their best, I think, is the best in the league.
Yeah.
But aside from that, like, I don't know, man. Like you told me the Knicks won the championship this year. I don't think I would be like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I'd be like, oh, so Randall figured it out in the playoffs? Good. That's good. That's great. Fantastic. Like, that's really what it, like, honestly, I think we can talk around and about everything else, but that's what we're talking about here. If the Knicks get the Julius Randle of 85, 90% of what he is in the regular season, they get that guy in the playoffs, they're a contender. They're especially assuming health and all that stuff, they're a contender. And they are a contender that this is like, honestly, I think they're the second best team in the East at that point.
I think another reason you can be encouraged, and I'm crossing every appendage, including several you can't see as I say this, but like Randall this season versus the past others, I think that his shot diet is more sustainable. Like he's not 2021. He was like, he had this year from 3-point range he's never had before or since. Unsustainable. It was great, but it wasn't there against a team that could specifically design against something that's not fundamental to him. And last year, I thought again he found he got more efficient in his profile because he was just, I'm taking threes or I'm going down low, but still like in the playoffs, particularly with Brunson there, unless Randall comes into a 3-point open shot like pretty organically, that's not a diet for like sustained success against teams that are committing their entire organization to scouting every single thing that you do and trying to take away the best of it. A Randall 3 is not the best of it. This season, for me, I think because there's so much more talent around him, there's so many more people around him that can create that are not dependent on either Brunson or Randall have to like make everything happen. Like, I think those are reasons that I feel like whatever, it may just not happen, but that's a reason why I think it could be better this season. The asterisk that I have with the Cavs, like, I think the Cavs are better than I like the moves that they've made. I think Sam Merrill is an enormous, to me, more exciting, certainly than fucking Yang. And Strus has done a nice job, but like the thing with Cleveland, and Nemo just mentioned this in the chat, and I don't know what will come of it because I don't know how JB Bickerstaff's going to play it. But they seem to have figured out like, oh, we really can separate Allen and Mobley and have it work. But are they going to actually, like when we talk about Thibodeau, like they kind of came into that by accident because they were working, I think, Mobley back, and so their minutes were divided and it was working. But like, are they going to, if that continues to show that kind of divide, are they going to commit as an organization to splitting up those two guys? Like, I don't know if they're going to do that, and that would scare me more than Allen and Mobley together. Like, if they actually did divide them, that team scares me more because I think it would have more flow and just kind of natural.
Sorry, just didn't mean to interrupt, but these are the picks the Knicks are sending out, by the way. This is ridiculous.
Oh, good.
Knicks are sending the less favorable of the Pacers and Suns 2028 second rounder, and the less favorable of the Pacers and Wizards 2029 second rounder. Yeah, okay. Leon Rose.
These moves now. I hate all these moves now.
Leon Rose, you have done miracles on me. Let me know. Let me know where you want the statue built. It will be a great thing that we will do outside of Madison Square Garden. Fucking this, I mean, honestly, Troy Weaver might be the greatest Knicks executive of all time.
This is starting to feel a little devil's advocate to me, where like Leon Rose must be as part of some satanic firm that we're just not seeing, because why would anybody just keep doing these things for the Knicks? I don't know, man.
Oh, man. Well, I mean, look, is James Wiseman still a Piston? Is that still a thing that's happening? At
the moment, I believe, for a little bit.
That's amazing.
Well, they traded Bagley so that they could open up minutes for Wiseman, man. That's why you know that's why they made that move.
I have the
Do-
rare
do you-
opportunity to ask my Marvin Bagley questions that I usually never get to. So I want to ask a Marvin Bagley
Oh
question.
Christ! All right, let's hear him.
So what's the deal? Because I don't watch him a lot, and I look at his numbers, and I know but I want to. It's not always the numbers. It's not always the video. I want to understand. He appears to be an efficient scorer and a competent. Is he that bad defensively? Is it that he doesn't get to the line? Is it more like? Why do you clearly not miss Marvin Bagley III?
Because he monstrous numbers in the ACC. He had one of the best seasons of any college player ever. That was literally, it became very quickly apparent when he got to the league that was only because he was a freak compared to these poor kids that had a midterm to worry about later on that week. Like, what are they doing? What is a future CPA, doing guarding Marvin Bagley?
The plumbers of the ACC.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, what are those guys doing guarding this guy who's about to go? He's going to be the second pick in the draft. That became very, very quickly apparent that, like, he was just always bigger, stronger, just more freakishly athletic than everybody else. And that's what he relied on. And the bad news for him once he got to the league was, well, everybody's a freak. Everybody in the NBA is an absolute freaky nature. And that caught up to him quick. And he never was able to layer on any type of skill, really. He had two moves. One was, I'm bigger and springier than you, so I'm just going to jump. And that's how I'll score. And then the other one was a running left-handed hook over his right shoulder. Yeah. So, and then if it wasn't that, then he's just going to, it's just going to be, it's all energy, right? Like, he's just going to grab an offensive board, go right back up with it. He just had not very good spatial feel and awareness, not a good screener. So if you're not going to be a good screener, how does that open up your role game, right? Because you would hope that a guy with that type of athleticism would be at least a vertical space threat. He was not. Never added a consistent jump shot. The free throw numbers really in college were indicative of that. He had a long way to go there, and he just never got that to go. So yeah, I get it. If you just look at the stat line, you look at the box scores, you say, oh, okay, 13-8, 16-7, right? Every now and then he'll have a game that he has 2 or 3 blocks, right? That's all just, I don't know. I hate to say, oh, it's just he was in the right place at the right time, but that kind of was it, because defensively, man, if his spatial awareness on offense was bad, defensively, it was like generationally bad. Like, the guy was so bad in help defense. I mean, just a reminder, just in case you guys don't remember, he played next to Wendell Carter, who was at Duke. Wendell was known for being that was his thing, was he was going to be a defensive menace and was probably going to feature as the main big on that team. Bagley reclassifies, moves up a year, ends up going to Duke at the same time. And he was so bad on defense that Wendell could not cover for him. And they also had Trey Jones as well, who's also a good perimeter defender. He was so bad on defense that he made 2 other guys look horrible. And then Coach K said, all right, I'm old, I'm senile. I don't want to try that hard when I coach anymore. Let's just play 2-3 zone. and that was their undoing. Like, they made Wendell Carter look so bad he couldn't even be a defensive anchor. So yeah, it was a lot of things about Marvin, and that was always my concern with him is, can he ever develop any type of skill? That just never happened. Is that an indictment on him? Not fully, but he got drafted to the Sacramento Kings, man. Like, that franchise at that point in time they did not place a premium on player development and skill development. It was just never going to work out. So yeah, I'll always root for him. He just seems like such a nice kid, but his dad was a problem here for years, and behind the scenes was just causing so much chaos that you would always hear about. And it just was not, it was just another one of those star-crossed, matches or mismatches that were just never going to work out. And it just, I don't miss him as a player at all. Seems like a very, very good person. Did a lot of good here in Sacramento and in Detroit. Just before he left, he did some really nice things for the community there. But I feel for him because his path was so just all over the place, and he never really found a true home here. Also, with Luka being taken right behind him, a lot of Kings fans already were saying, like, we don't like this guy simply because Luka was the guy taken after him, which is so unfair. But it was just never going to work out here. So Yeah,
Well,
I get it. You look at the raw numbers, you look at the raw production, you're like, oh, okay, yeah. But if you watch the tape, you're like, oh my god.
That's what Enes
Well,
Kanter was here, and like Shwin was one of the people who helped turn my brain on this. I just get very defensive of players, and like Enes Kanter would get 18 and 12 in 26 minutes, and everyone's shredding it. And I'm like, what is wrong with you people? Like, look at the, and Shwin would be like, he can't stop a look at it pick and roll coverage. And I was like,
my favorite Shwin tweet ever was when Enes Kanter said, I'm gonna transition and identify as a woman so I could play in the WNBA. And Shwin said, you would still get cooked in pick and roll. And that shit was hilarious. Hilarious.
The funniest thing about that tweet is you get like the random replies from people that are like, dude, he would dominate the WNBA. And I'm like, dude, I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm shitting on Enes Kanter. Can I do that in peace?
I like how it's a completely hypothetical thing and he's being facetious and he's being an asshole and people are like, well, actually, it's like, no, we're not going to argue the semantics of a former NBA player playing in the WNBA. Come on, guys. The internet is not a real place.
So the Kings, they held on to Davon Mitchell. He's been playing a little bit more, right? Lately.
Correct. He has been playing a little bit more.
Is he? What's like the deal here? Do you think that this is just like a situation where nothing came to like? Look, let's be real. His value right now is not high. Do you just think it made no sense for them to trade him, or do you think they're just like, hey, you know what? Maybe there's still something here. Do you expect him to be traded this offseason?
I don't know the answer to the latter part. I don't know if he gets traded this offseason. If I had to guess, probably. I mean, it's coming up on. I think it might be decision time soon on his option. For his rookie deal. I don't know if they're gonna pick that. I don't know. Actually, we should probably look that up. But if his option has not been picked up as of yet, I would imagine that it's probably not going to get picked up. Unless they want to hang on to him so that they can do a sign and trade or something like that. No idea. I think he has been getting more minutes because they were trying to showcase him. I do. I do believe that because you're right. He had little to no value. When Keon Ellis was in the rotation, those minutes came at the expense of Davon Mitchell. And so Davon was out of the rotation for close to a month, I think. And then they decided to give him another look. And when he's out there, he does things that, I'm sure the coaching staff loves. But when he's listed at 6 feet tall. I don't know if he actually is 6 feet tall. A closeout by 6 foot tall, NBA point guard is not going to do anything if he's getting schemed up to close out against wings. And he's fantastic moving laterally, a bulldog defensively on the perimeter. But again, I think the height is the big problem here, or the lack thereof. And I do think that they were trying to see if they could extract any value from him by showcasing him these past 10 or so games. And I do believe that nothing came to fruition. Nobody was really interested, or Monty wasn't going to get a return that he was going to like. And so they decided, okay, we're just going to hang on to him. And I had got that sense just from some people that I talked to in the weeks leading up to the trade deadline that there really was no movement there, and that there probably wasn't going to be anything happening on the Davon Mitchell side. So yeah, he's been getting more minutes. I'm curious to see what happens after the deadline now. I believe Keon has, because two-way players, if you're just rostered and you're on the active roster, that counts towards your 50 game limit. Keon's coming up on that. I think Keon's got 2 more games left before they either send him to Stockton for the rest of the season, have him as a healthy scratch every game for the rest of the season if they decide to keep him up on the main roster, or they convert him to a standard contract. And I don't know which way they're leaning when it comes to that. And that is probably going to be influenced by how they're going to approach the way Davon Mitchell is going to be used for the rest of the season. And if Davon is going to remain in the rotation, then that's probably going to be a decision that's going to have to happen soon here with what they decide to do with Keon. And then I'm trying to think of anybody else that would maybe get the minutes that Davon is occupying right now other than Keon, and I can't think of anybody. So I do think that they were trying to showcase him. I do think they were giving him more minutes to see if they could get anything for him, and nothing happened. So yeah, he seems like a Tibs guy though, So I was like, hey, maybe the Knicks will give the Kings something for Davon Mitchell. Get him over there, have him play, 10, 15 minutes a night and just harass the shit out of point guards. I'm sure Tibs would love that, but nothing ever materialized there, obviously. So
we have a Deuce McBride for.
Do you miss the days of Lottie drafting random big dudes just to make himself happy? We all remember the GOAT, your ghost, Poppy. Chris, the answer to that is no, I don't miss that at all. And it's crazy because Vladdy is showing he's showing his face around the team again. He's working in like an ambassador role for the team.
Yeah,
so
they officially announced that, right?
Yeah. So he's like back and in the building, and people are. It's cool. I hated the idea of a franchise legend, literally a franchise legend, one of the greatest European players of all time. He was kind of a pioneer in that regard, right? Coming over to the NBA, being hated or being disliked because he made a couple bad decisions as an executive, a role that he never should have had. So that's kind of on Vivek Ranadive for giving him that role and bestowing upon him the power to make those types of decisions. But it's cool that a lot of people have kind of just put that in the review. It's easier when your team's winning. Last season was a lot of fun, and he was in the building a lot for that. And then they announced him as the ambassador. Yeah, everybody's cool now, but no, I don't miss that, man. I just don't, man. Yorgos Papagiannis, wow.
my cousin Vivek Ranadive.
Do we see the Knicks or the Kings active in the buyout market at all? If so, who do we think some of the targets are?
I was just going to bring this up. Bobby Marks. Just to bring this up, good question, Jeff. But Bobby Marks tweeted this out earlier today. But New York has 2 open roster spots and are $2.5 million below the luxury tax. Plenty of room below the first apron to sign players bought out of their contract. They might. I don't know. It's weird though, right? Because we just bitched about like who's going to be out of the rotation. How are we going to do this? Like, I don't know. It'd be hard. I wouldn't mind bringing in. We lost a Nova. We can maybe add a Nova. I would not mind bringing in Kyle Lowry in a buyout if he was down to play 10, 15 minutes a night off the bench or something. I don't know that he will, and I think he's going to go to Philly. That feels like that. But again, if Philly's just like, actually, we're done, Embiid's done, is he going to go there? Feels like a waste of time for him. He'd be cool. Aside from that, I'm not really sure anybody else in the buyout market makes sense. Oklahoma City got Hayward, so he's not going to get bought out. I don't know. I guess was that Hayward trade? Was that part of the Gafford, PJ Washington thing that went on there too, or is that, I don't know. It feels like it probably was connected. I don't know. Yeah, I the Kings probably should be active to some degree in the buyout market.
I can't remember the last time they got somebody on the buyout market. Maybe Terrence Williams back in like 2012.
What is the Kings' biggest need right now?
Like Terrence Williams is in jail for defrauding the NBA healthcare program. So
you had Terrence Davis.
Who isn't at this point? Davis. There's like 50 guys in jail.
Yeah, it's true.
Like every player you barely remember from 2010 is currently in jail for defrauding the healthcare.
So wild. That is so wild. That's a thing.
You had Terrence Davis last year, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Is he just not in the league now?
No, so he was at the G League showcase because nobody wanted to kick the tires on him in the offseason, and he was playing well. He had a game out there where he hit like 10 threes, and then he either like partially ruptured, or it was either a partial or a full tear of the Achilles. Out there, which is a bummer. So that's tough, man. Yeah, he was an interest. He was definitely a piece last season, but I get why the Kings didn't bring him back. I just watching him out there sometimes defensively. I know Mike Brown. I just drove Mike Brown nuts. I think that was really the big issue with him. But we'll always remember Game 6 against the Warriors when Mike Brown threw out a small ball lineup and the Warriors had no answer for it. And Terrence Davis was a huge part of that. So, prayers up, TD. Hope you're doing okay. I hope he ends up back in the league. But for some reason, nobody wanted to give him a chance this offseason. It's weird. Yeah, because he could definitely be a piece for a lot of teams. So the buyout market, though, for the Kings, I don't think the Kings. I don't know. I don't remember the last time they brought in somebody on the buyout market. So, and what are the names? Like there were guys that just went on the buyout market. Daniel House, right, is one of them. Somebody said Oladipo got bought out, right?
Dinwiddie's like the big name, I'd guess.
Dinwiddie.
God. I would sign him on the buyout market if I were the Knicks, just so I could fucking wave his ass.
How you gonna do that to the Bitcoin Mamba? Come on, you can't do
Like,
that.
no, you know the best thing that you sign him, right? Then you assign him to the G League, and then you waive him right before the playoffs start, because then he can't be added to a playoff roster. That's the way you handle the Spencer Dinwiddie.
There's
Fuck
some
that guy.
deep-seated animosity here.
I
towards
feel like
Spencer
the
Dinwiddie.
fact that you already have like a pre-planned way to fuck over a player you don't like says a lot about you. You know, like you've clearly thought about this before in your life.
This is not about
Yeah.
I thought a lot about, especially fucking Spencer Dinwiddie. Like, I would love to trade for him just to have the pleasure of getting
As
waived
a hater, I respect the negativity and the commitment to your Dinwiddie hatred.
I'm not sure I've ever hated a player that much.
Get on my level, Matt. I think the Raptors are kind of like losers in the aggregate of all this too. They didn't trade Bruce Brown, which was like, you remember yesterday, Jake Fisher was like, "Oh, there's a mystery team that's offering a first-round pick," and then like 20 minutes later, or he said like the Utah Jazz were interested, right? And then like Tony Jones tweeted out like 20 minutes later, he's just like, "I have no idea what the fuck he's talking about." Like, I don't know.
The only way keeping Bruce Brown works out, like they have his team option, and his contract is pretty pricey. It's like over 20 million. So like either they can be playing the long game and use him as a chip next trade deadline, or if because it's Toronto, like free agents aren't really dying to sign in Toronto, and so if they want to be active for a really good player, having a contract like Brown's and a player like Brown's is pretty valuable.
What did you guys think of that contract when he first got it, though?
I was very surprised. By it.
Yeah,
that was weird.
I thought that was a weirdly constructed. The fact that he would willingly give the team that he's signing with control over him for an additional season was odd.
It was just a lot. And it was just a lot.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I get why they did it, though. I get why they did it.
Somebody, I tweeted the other day talking about Peyton Watson for the Nuggets and how he's kind of quietly been a good player for the Nuggets this year. And somebody responded like, he's not doing enough because he's replacing Bruce Brown. And I actually looked it up, and Peyton Watson's EPM this year is higher than Brown's was last season. Like, so I had that to fall back on. And I was like, I think Brown's probably overrated just because like it seems like he's doing a lot out there. Like he comes off as like this jack of all trades, can help you in all these different ways. But it's like, I mean, he is helping you. I'm not saying he's a negative player, but that was a surprising contract.
He's a better version of this, but I remember back in the day, like then the Knicks acquired Malik Rose in a trade, and like Malik Rose had been a nice bench player for the Spurs. For Spurs teams, he wasn't why the Spurs won at all. He wasn't even a starter, but like he was there. And then they traded for him, and I remember I used to call him Cool Runnings because sometimes he looked like he had never in his life played basketball until that night. And I feel like Bruce Brown is the rich man's version of that. We're like on a really good team.
Oh man,
he might get you there. But like if you're, and I wanted to ask you guys about this because I saw something about this yesterday and wondered if it impacted a lot of stuff today. It doesn't sound, and I never understand how people figure this out, but it sounds like there's less excitement about the upcoming draft than there often is. That like people aren't really that pumped about it. So I wonder if Toronto may be thinking the same deal can be there for Bruce Brown a year from now. We don't want draft picks in 2024. Like, we don't care about this draft. Maybe if we, like you said, same value, hold him for a year. It doesn't hurt you. You're not competing. You're not going anywhere. He's a nice guy to have around. And a year from now, somebody will want him because he's that winning kind of all-purpose dude. And now you have a pick in maybe 2025 versus this draft, which I never know how people decide it's a good or bad draft. But it seems like there's a lot of, this is not the year to be picking up draft picks.
Yeah, that's a great breakdown.
Yeah,
I just like I think Masai is just like constantly. Didn't they fucking trade a first round pick yesterday? I didn't imagine this, right? They traded a first round pick yesterday for Kelly Olynyk. Yeah, isn't that what happened?
You mean like 2 hours ago, right? Not yesterday.
Was that? I think I don't know why I was thinking yesterday.
Yeah. The Olynyk, the Jazz Pistons or the Jazz Raptors trade happened like a few hours ago.
Yeah, so that tells you how alert I am right now. But like, yeah, they traded the 28th pick for Agbaji and Olynyk. Like, I don't I don't actually hate that. I think Agbaji's fine.
Yeah.
And in general, I think the idea of just getting more shooters on the roster, is a good one. I don't know. I just think the Brown thing, I would have just dumped him for whatever you could get. I think they could have gotten something. They probably could have gotten a couple seconds or something. I would have just done that. And moved on, because I don't really see the purpose of holding on to him. And they don't even really need the salary. I don't know. It's a weird one. I feel like Masai just at least they picked a direction. I mean, Jesus, that was good, instead of whatever they were doing last year.
I feel like right now the only goal for Toronto is to see what the ceilings of Quickly, Barnes, and RJ are, and like nothing else matters. And so like putting shooting next to them is gonna help them. And yeah, I mean, I actually hadn't considered the angle that Matt presented about next year's draft being more valuable. So that to me is just another reason why holding on to Brown, there's at least some merit to it. If they weren't, blowing you up with offers, it's not terrible to keep him.
Yeah. I'm assuming that I'm assuming the Raptors will want to be bad. Like, I think they want to hold on to their pick or they want to convey their pick this year, so that they have their pick next season. And I feel like they might. I don't think they want to actively tank, but I don't think they'd be too upset if they still stink next year, because Cooper Flagg's in that draft, and I feel like they might want to be in the mix for him. This is from Nemo Petiter. Brogdon trajectory is fascinating. Basically, the guy didn't want to be traded so he can chill in Portland. Hey, I don't hate it, man. That's look, if you don't want to go somewhere and you're happy and you don't give a shit about competing, good for you.
Let me also just add it, because I just did a little work on this yesterday for another pod. For Malcolm Brogdon, like, just it's always good to remember that we're fans, and like we care about these things as fans, but like, you are talking about people who do this for a living. Malcolm Brogdon played for 2 teams his first 6 years, which is pretty stable, like by NBA standards. I would guess most people who play 6 years, it's not on 2 teams. In the last year and a half, he's been on 2 teams, and if he got traded this deadline, it would have been a third. Last year, he got shipped across the country from Boston to Portland. He's married. He has a young child. All the talk about the Knicks going after Brogdon to the fans appealed not only because this guy's he's a good fit, like we can play, fills a lot of holes for us, and also because of his contract, we can flip him in the summer if we trade for a star. If I'm Malcolm Brogdon and I just moved my family from the East Coast to the West Coast last year, I'm going to move them back this year, knowing that in the offseason I might get traded to a team for their star, meaning I'm going to get traded to a team that's clearly getting worse because they're trading a star for me and for picks, and I'm going to move my family a third time in a year and a half for that. Like, yeah, chill in Portland. It's legal out there. Have a good time, man. Like, 100%.
Ricky O'Donnell, by the way, he's a Bulls fan. He just tweeted this. Arturas Karnisovas, lazy, unambitious, and kind of a dunce. He's never said or done anything with the Bulls to prove otherwise. It seemed impossible that the Reinsdorfs could hire an executive tandem worse than Garpax, and yet, dude, that Bulls thing is just a joke. I can't believe it. They held on to DeRozan too, and it's like, are you going to just keep the? It's just I don't get it. I don't get it at all.
Ricky O'Donnell is not one to fly off the handle either. Like, that's about as strong as he gets.
Yeah. This is not me. This is not me just rage tweeting into the void. Yeah, I don't know. The Bulls to me are just, it's like, it's hard to call them a loser at the deadline because they've just been a fucking loser for years now. Like, I don't know. They're fucking, they have no idea what they're doing. They had one decent season and that fell off the rails halfway through. I don't know.
Is Reinsdorf still the owner there?
Oh yeah. He's never said
okay.
That.
They need to boo him, not Jerry Krause, not the players. Get Reinsdorf out there, put her on the Jumbotron and boo him in front of her. That's who needs to get booed. I don't know what that team is doing, man. But I'm good with it.
They deserve.
That's right, Chris Bernhard. They do deserve it.
Portland is a great place to raise a family. Also true. Yeah, I was actually, Lonzo is interesting though. He's like, you just talked a lot about contracts. He is an expiring contract for them next year. That'd be interesting to see what they do with him. But then again, they'll probably just end up doing nothing, because why would you ever do anything if you're an executive in the NBA? I don't know. I mean, Is there? Oh, by the way, Zach LaVine underwent foot surgery today. A little bit of stupid slop. The Grizzlies have waived Victor Oladipo, so he will be on the buyout market if you're interested. The Bulls aren't even the worst Reinsdorf front team, which is hilarious. I'm not a baseball guy, but I'll take your word for it. He owns the White
Pretty
Sox,
bad
right?
there too. Yeah, pretty bad. The White Sox too.
Yeah, he's pretty miserable. I guess like we'll wrap up here, but like any final thoughts about anything that happened or didn't happen at this trade deadline?
I'm gonna light a candle for Alex Caruso because he deserves better.
He really does deserve better. Honestly, like that's the weirdest part about the Bulls is they have a number of guys who would be interesting, but they're like additive pieces. They're not the guys who can put you over the top. And it's like the collection of them together isn't. And like Shwin said, shouldn't they be handing the keys to Kobe White? This seems to be not only are they blocking that by not taking a step back, they're also blocking that by keeping these guys around and making his touches and his usage and his role more inconsistent. So I just don't. I know you weren't looking for final thoughts on the Bulls. I have no idea what the hell they're doing.
Casey Johnson just tweeted this out. He's a Bulls guy. Arturas Carnisola cites emergence of Kobe White, Ayo Dosunmu's and Patrick Williams' improvement, DeMar DeRozan's closing status, Nikola Vucevic double-double machine status, Alex Caruso making winning plays, and Andre Drummond's play, plus the East parity as reasons for hope. That has got to be one of the most insane fucking statements a GM has ever made. That is insane. That's actually genuinely fucking insane.
My favorite part is just from like the writing perspective is that they gave specifics about everyone and then got to Andre Drummond and like, we can't say existence. Let's just say play. Like there was nothing else to say.
This one is good too. This Jordan Bub. This team is very competitive in every game, and we have aspirations to compete for the playoffs. That's exactly what fans want to hear. We just want to make the playoffs. We just make.
Especially when you're 3 degrees, you're 3 degrees removed from it. We have aspirations to compete for it. Maybe one day we'll actually just compete and not aspire to. Good Lord.
It's man, what a disastrous team they have over there.
Any closing thoughts on the Chicago Bulls while we're all at it?
Nah, man, I got nothing. Like Kings fans are freaking out. Like they're like, oh, Monte McNair's he's not doing anything, and oh my god, it's like they're 8. Look, they lost to the Pistons last night. Yeah, it was rough. Monty for the second straight deadline hasn't done much, but the Kings are 29-21. Like I too would be much more. I too would be much more concerned if I were a Bulls fan because that team is. What are they doing? I don't just we could go on for hours about this. So I'd rather just leave it alone.
I like this from Nick's tape. Brian Cashman asked quote.
Brian Cashman asked quote.
Yeah, that is accurate. That is accurate. All right, I think that wraps it up. Jrue, thanks for jumping on. Jeff, Matt,
appreciate it.
Great to have you guys on as well. Yeah, everybody have a good rest of your day. Knicks are probably going to lose tonight because I don't think anybody's playing. So don't freak out about it. We're going to win the championship. All right. Thanks to everybody that was in the chat that helped out and contributed and gave us all the information in live time. That was very, very helpful. So thanks to you guys. And all right, I will see everybody.
Thoughts on the Super Bowl real quick. Thoughts on the Super Bowl Hawkeye 420. Go Niners.
Oh, God. God, it's the worst. This is my Super Bowl of hate. I hate both these teams so much. All right. Okay.
My Super Bowl will be City versus Everton this weekend, so that'll be my big game.
Oh, I have no idea United are playing. It's pretty nice to be checked out on a season because nothing's happening. Then when Nemo, we will be doing the next trick stream after the game tonight. So look out for that. All right. I will see everybody then. Take care. Have a good evening.
Peace, everybody.